Hello everybody and welcome to the Team Endurance Championship here by XR Virtual Motorsport. We're live on Turn1's YouTube channel here for the first round of this 3-race championship starting here at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. As you can see, ACC, GT3 cars, Pro and Am categories as well. It's set to be a very exciting couple of hours of racing here this evening. As I said, first of 3 races at 3 iconic circuits over the next couple of months. We're starting here in the United Kingdom at Silverstone, then we'll be moving over to Imola, as you can see there, on the 15th of February, and then early March we'll be heading to Suzuka for our finale of this GT3 Endurance Championship. Thanks very much to everybody for tuning in to this one. It's good to have you all here. My name's Ewan O'Leary and I'll be joined by guest commentator Charlie Martin here this evening. Good to have you along, Charlie. It's an exciting time. First round of a new championship and a great place to be. Silverstone's such a wonderful circuit, especially in GT3 cars. I'm very much looking forward to it.
Absolutely, Ewan. Thanks for inviting me along to join the broadcast tonight. As you say, Silverstone GP track, a fantastic track. We're going to have some good racing tonight, and certainly a circuit that I know pretty well myself, not far from where I live and somewhere I've done quite a few laps around. So yeah, the drivers are in for a hot race tonight, I'm sure.
Absolutely, we've got just over 20 cars involved. I think we've topped out at 23 by the looks of things now, because I have noticed a team having some problems. But we're just in qualifying as things stand, just under 2 minutes to go, and yeah, we'll be having a look at that in a few moments' time. But yeah, just introduce you to this championship really, because it's a new everyone embarking on a new challenge here this afternoon, or this evening, I should say, and so we should probably give you a bit of an idea of what the hell's going on. So 2 hours of racing here tonight, as there will be for the all 3 rounds, we believe, for this one. Qualifying 20 minutes long. That's just coming up towards the end of that now. We'll get to see the results in a few moments' time. They've got as many drivers' tyre sets as you need. That's not going to be a problem here this afternoon. They're not going to have to manage tyres particularly. You'll probably be changing tyres halfway through. You'll definitely be changing driver halfway through. This is a 2-driver championship. 2 drivers entered into each team. And there's a 20-minute pit stop window in the middle 20 minutes of this race for them to get that driver change done. If you can choose to run this race on your own, and I have spotted a few drivers in here on their own. You won't have to do the driver swap, obviously, because you're on your own, but you will have a 20-second penalty to serve at the end of the race, a time penalty added on to kind of offset that. So you can... actually 60 seconds I'm reading on this graphic now, so either way you get a penalty for not using 2 drivers, because it's technically outside the rules, I guess. Yeah, 120-minute race. You've got a pit stop window and a driver change to do. Pro and Am categories as well, which is going to add an extra layer of excitement to this one. But yeah, 2-driver racing here, Charlie. It's always adding that little bit of element. Driving 2 hours on your own is difficult, I suppose, but sharing a car with someone else is always difficult as well, even if these guys will only be in the car for an hour here today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, out of the 2 options, I'd definitely rather be sharing with somebody, because a 2-hour stint is quite, it's a long time, even with a potential drive-through if they're going to do that. But as you say, I mean, whether they decide to choose the tyre changing option or if they just stay out and take the 60-second penalty, it'll be interesting to see. But certainly, yeah, driving with a teammate is it's one of the things I love about endurance racing. It's the the kind of added camaraderie, and it also comes with quite a bit of pressure as well when you've got a teammate who's counting on you to deliver and hand the car over in as good a position as you can, hopefully higher than where you started, or certainly to hold your position. And it's one of the things that that makes endurance racing just such a fantastic type of motorsport, really.
Yeah, absolutely is. I've got to say, there's nothing more terrifying for me than finishing a car in an endurance race when everyone's put the work in the team, and then you have the potential to blow it all. Yeah, anyway, that's another story for another day. But yeah, we're just coming up towards the end of qualifying right now. The drivers putting their very final laps in. Have to say, looking at the front of the order, there's a lot of BMWs that have been chosen, weirdly, which is, I guess, a little bit expected, because we've got, it's still a relatively new car, the BMW M4 GT3 in the world of motorsport. Made its debut a couple of weeks ago now, in 24 Hours of Dubai, an endurance race in the Middle East, and we'll be seeing it a lot throughout this year and the coming years, I'm sure, as well. Probably going to see a lot of success, and might well do tonight, to be quite honest, because we've got one on pole. Adrian Antomarchi has taken the pole position in the 137 BMW, and there he is, looking at that right now. Fairly close times, I have to say, but a couple of standout AM performances there. We're seeing, we'll get a proper note of those when we do our proper grid walk in a few moments' time. But the AM drivers have to qualify and have to start this race here this evening, Charlie, which does mean that there's going to be a bit less of a mess at the start. I mean, if the pro drivers, qualified and then the AM drivers started, it could be a bit of a mess. So thankfully, we don't have that. We hopefully have a cleaner start, but you never really know.
Yeah, I mean, you always want to get a good clean start. It's one of the things we always try and remind ourselves of in endurance racing, is that, okay, it's a 2-hour race tonight. It's not like they're racing for 24 hours, but nonetheless, you don't necessarily win a race like this in the first corner, and getting a clean start, getting away cleanly, it's important. So you need to keep a cool head.
And probably the most important thing that we haven't mentioned yet is the precipitation that is belting down on the circuit at the moment. I have to say, well, I say belting. It's not belting by UK standards, but it is raining. There's no doubt about that, and it will be affecting these guys here this evening. So let's wait and see how it does. We'll have a quick run through though of the grid in a couple of moments. As you can see, we've got about 4 minutes until we start, so we've got plenty of time to do that. But another graphic, interestingly, on the top right hand side of the screen is that it's going to get drier. It's going to stop raining apparently within 15 minutes in this race, so changing track conditions, not only wet at the start, but it might well be fully dry by the end, and that could make some tyre selection issues a little bit later on here in this race. But before we get to that, let's just have a quick look through of these cars and a quick run through of these drivers. So I don't think all of these starting drivers are correct, but the cars definitely are in the right positions. We've got the 137 BMW ahead of McLaren on the front row. Kieran Pendergast is going to be starting that car on the right hand side. Then we've got BMW and Lexus on the next row with Stavros Konstantinius and Andrei Michael on the second row, and all BMW third row with Forsberg alongside Amundsen just in 5th and 6th. Then it's Porsche versus Bentley with Wagner Marquez and IA Zones, and rounding out the top 10, Henry Handy and Michael Hutchinson going to be rounding out that top 10 positions. Simone Capelli is going to be next ahead of Andre Fredriksson. Selene Witcher is going to be next ahead of Jonathan Seville. Then Nick Brugink and Alexel Svensson. Excuse me if I'm pronouncing these wrong, by the way. I probably have done. That's 15th and 16th. Chris Rosbuck and Guido Trampe on the next row together ahead of Serkan Duran and Peter Karsbergen. Then we've got John Jordan and Andy Booth running out 22 cars which have made their way onto the grid here for this race. So just back to the point that I was making, the time seems to be sped up ever so slightly, and the weather looks like it's drying up even as we speak. The rain has certainly got lighter, and this tyre compound selection is going to be quite difficult here because while it is going to be wet to start with, it doesn't look like it's actually going to be wet for that long, looking at the forecast in the top right hand side of our screen.
Definitely going to be interesting starting on a drying, well, whether it's going to be drying, but certainly looks, as you say, like it's going to be drying up fairly soon, and that tyre choice is going to be critical, really. How the drivers get their first laps in, if you can try and pull out a bit of a gap early on. And I mean, one thing is that at the moment, I mean, it certainly looks too wet to start on slicks. Looks like there's some pretty big puddles, quite a bit of standing water out there. So I'd say, sometimes you start a race and you think, yeah, it's touch and go. You're going to struggle on slick tyres for the first few laps, but ultimately you're going to make a big gain in staying out of the pits and avoiding that pit stop. But it looks like for these drivers, at least right now, they're all going to have to start on wet tyres.
Looks like that will be the case, but how long will they be on those for is another question entirely. I have to say as well that the time of day is sped up by times two on this occasion. So we're starting at it's going to be starting at just past 2 p.m. In the sim, but we're going to be getting past 4 by the time that it's ended. I'm not sure what time of year this is taking place, or how that. Is it today's time of year or not? I'm not sure personally, but if it is, it might start to get slightly dimmer. Well, I don't want to say dark, but slightly dimmer towards the end of this one. But quite possibly drier by the looks of things. Either way, let's wait and see. Last 30 seconds for these guys to get themselves readied up, and as you can see, they're dropping themselves down onto the grid properly now, and there should be a wait for one formation lap of the entire Silverstone GP circuit, so we'll get a proper look at this track for the first time in a few moments' time. But one interesting thing to note is that not all of the AM cars are behind all of the Pro cars. We've had some standout performances in this qualifying session. First of all, the 24 BMW there, Forsberg, having a great qualifying 5th position for them, where you could argue they should be 7th based on the fact that they are a Pro-Am team and the AM drivers qualifying the car. So yeah, a couple of standout performances there, the 24 certainly among them, and that's going to help the AM teams, especially early on in this race. If they're up the order, they've got a bit of a head start on some of their rivals there in 5th position.
Yeah, definitely. They'll be happy with that traffic between them and the back of the rest of the grid. A good performance as well from Alton Jones for turn one in the I think it's an Aston he's driving, or but yeah, either way, it's always nice to have a bit of breathing space on those opening laps, knowing the rest of the class has got a few other cars to get through to start putting you under pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. I've just seen as well in one of our Discord chats here, I can't find it again, but either Oscar Sandberg was saying that he's going to start on slicks, just with a bit of a smiley face, a cheeky smiley face. So I think he's just kind of winging it really and going for it here. It could pay off. He could look like a hero in a few moments' time, but he also could be in the wall. So let's wait and see on that, because it certainly looks very, very wet out there, even still. It's a fair bit of spray being kicked up, and they're not even going that quickly down the Hanger Straight at the moment towards Stowe for the formation lap here. You see from the aerial shot, but yeah, it's difficult to see anybody on slicks really going well in the opening moments of this race. It's going to be Adrian Andermarschi starting the 137 car, by the way. I know it's not what it says on timing or on the timing tower while we're on the grid. But in the bottom right hand side of the screen is usually more accurate towards the start, because ACC puts the driver that's assigned driver 1, it just presumes they're going to start the race on the formation lap, which is not always the case. And it isn't in this case. So the 137 is going to be started by Andermarschi, and we're also not going to be starting on this straight either, as you would see in the Formula 1, for example, or other series or the WEC even that use this pit lane. We're going to be going round towards Copse for the first turn. A bit of a throwback almost at this stage. The new section we're about to go through here has been in place for a long time. It still feels like a throwback. Copse being the first corner, I think, does alleviate some problems though. It's a fast corner. You don't often see too many problems through turn 1 here. Hopefully I haven't just jinxed it, but we'll wait and see. It's a fast corner, and hopefully everybody gets through cleanly, of course.
Better than Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton anyway. Last year. It's it's going to be an interesting start to this race, definitely.
It's Tristan Ferguson, by the way, is completely contradicting what I'm saying. Says that they're worried about lap 1 incidents where they can happen. Well, there we are. Quite possible. We'll see if they do through this section. Also, Andy Booth looks like he's had a couple of problems with the server, and so he might not be able to take the start in this one, so we might end up with 21 cars on the grid here. Aston Martin might not make the start here, but let's hope that's not the case for them. Either way, we're coming through the final couple of corners right now. It even says because of the speeded up time, or the sped up time, it stopped raining for this start. So who's going to be on the slicks, who's going to be sliding around through this opening start, and who is going to be really going for this on the treaded tyres? We'll have to see through the start. It's going to be Adrian Andermarschi in control of the field in the 137 BMW, just waiting. And can't accelerate and brake, of course. He's got to make one smooth acceleration to get this championship underway. Let's not forget, here at Silverstone, Team Endurance Championship by XR Virtual Motorsport, just holding it at a very slow 60 kilometers an hour at the moment, and waiting to get the green light at the end of pit lane. Somebody already in pit lane deciding that the dry tyres might be the way forward here, or indeed the opposite way round. Let's see the lights go out at the front of our screen, and we're going to go racing for 2 hours here at Silverstone. The green flag finally waves. Andermarschi gets it underway very, very late, holding the field, and he might pay for this with a side-by-side with one of the McLarens. Through turn 1, everybody looks like they've made their way through here nice and cleanly, deciding that the race can't be won early on, but it can be lost, and the McLaren slides right in front of the field. There's chaos in the background as well. The cars have gone around. The 103 looks like it's gone around already, and there's more contact for second place, I'm afraid to say. Lots of things going on through. Magnussen Beckett's the 22. Bentley has been around. James Sheridan, unfortunately, already been for a spin. Wet conditions, tricky conditions, drying conditions. However, incidents on lap 1, of course, which is not what we wanted to see.
Yeah, it looked like a good recovery there from the McLaren, but nasty bit of collision, and coming through Magnus Beckett's. I was just about to jinx it and say, looks like everybody's got away cleanly for the start of the race, but Yeah, just the nightmare of trying to rejoin a track, and that's first few sectors when everybody's bunched up and you get pushed offline. You're desperate to get back on there, but it's so hard when you can't see clearly left or right who's coming up either side of you. And that McLaren dropping somewhere down the field, right way back there, they're going to be gutted. But 2 hours to play for. Maybe those slicks are going to play into their hands. We'll have to see, but I guess also depends if they've picked up some damage there from those 2 impacts. But definitely seeing the M4 pulling away, getting a nice lead in the early session, early stages rather of this race, and a bit more contact happening there as well with the Aston and the Lexus, I think, is it? Yeah.
Big dive here from the 404, but not able to really make anything stick there. It's going to get jumped on by Svensson here. Oh, and off in the grass. Meanwhile, side by side for the lead, the Porsche absolutely flying off the start here. Wagner Marquez has had a flying start, and all of a sudden Antomarchi in a bit of trouble here, and the 137 all of a sudden very, very much under pressure. Damp conditions, as you can see, drying very quickly, surprisingly quickly. I just wonder if this Porsche has indeed got the dry tyres on the moment. We don't actually know which tyres each car has got on at the moment, so it's a bit of a waiting game to see there. But Marquez absolutely flying here, and we've already got an Amcar into third place, by the way. We just saw Watkin in the 101 getting up into third position already. This has been a really topsy-turvy start, very exciting start to this championship, you might say, and already a few cars in the pit lane, unfortunately, like the McLaren on dry tyres. Sandberg went for it. I'm afraid it's not really paid off for them at all as they go down towards Stowe now, the 2 leaders. Antomarchi with, well, half a defence, and then Marquez left the inside line for himself, and it looks like he's going to get that one now through on the tight line, and the Porsche hits the front already, on board now, and looking very strong early on. There has to be a tyre difference between these two in the way they're behaving. The Porsche looking very, very strong early on in this race.
Yeah, really confident. You could see him just putting Antomarchi under pressure straight away there. I mean, he must have been thrilled with that start, and to just have that confidence, you could see it, just sending it through, and the BMW just couldn't stick with him, could he? Just drifting out wide there, and already within a few corners he's starting to pull out a gap, and Antomarchi already under pressure from turn 1 from the Bentley now, from third place, pushing and sending it up the inside it. The loop there, having a look, putting his nose inside, just not quite enough space to make the move stick there. But a great section on the track, really, through Village and the loop to try and take a big chunk out of somebody. A few different lines you can potentially take through there, and it's interesting driving this track. Sometimes people come into there quite wide, but you can also brake the car quite aggressively into the corner and really take a big chunk out of someone when you're trying to put them under pressure. And certainly be interesting to see. I wish we could see what tyres people are running, because it would be really interesting to know who's on wets and who's on the dries. But again, Antomarchi running wide there, and the Bentley stretching it out and made it stick. Nice clean move. Seeing one of the back marker letting him through there as well.
Yeah, one of the it must be the 17 or 102. I can't quite work out which one at the moment. But yeah, could have been a bit of a problem. Fortunately, it wasn't really. Daniel Watkin getting through then. Of course, I'm leader, and that won't really change with that move being made on Antomarchi there at all. However, it has meant he's into second place, and he's continued to march up through the field. We've also got marching forward another Amcar, Adam Gardner, at the moment in the 420 Aston Martin, up to 5th place in that Amcar right now. So a couple of strong performances from these teams in the lower in the lower class of the two. Looking at a big dive here for P13 overall, and a couple of places further up in the AM category, an all-AM battle here between Svensson and Weber here for 13th overall. Lexus on the outside line, BMW on the inside. Nice bit of side-by-side racing, respectful racing at least, and a nice, fairly easy move really in the end for Weber, although it's not over yet, having to just cover himself through the what would be the final corner of the circuit using the wing pit lane, but we're not on this occasion. We'll be heading through the fast first few turns now, and yeah, nice respectful racing between these guys a little bit further back, which is what we want to see. I've seen a few incidents a little bit further back. I'm sure we'll get some replays in a few moments' time when things settle down, at least, because a lot went on that start. And it's hardly surprising given the conditions, but wipers still going, so you'd expect it still to be maybe too early for dries, although some people may well be on them right now and prevailing. Let's see on that one. But meanwhile, Fisher getting through here on Hutchinson. That was a pro on-am driver, so not too much of a surprise, but up to 8th position here for the 103. Let's have a quick look back then, shall we? Because a lot went on in this start, and even stuff that we didn't quite see. We were so busy looking at Sandberg going 45 degrees sideways up towards turn 2 that we didn't quite see this 3-wide moment going towards Maggots and Beckett's. A couple of drivers backing out, fortunately, but unfortunately the concertina effect catching a few out as well. There's even an incident going on further ahead of us here as well. It's just a lot of cars trying to funnel into basically a one-line section there, so it was bound to happen in the end, unfortunately, and a couple of drivers on the receiving end of some contact.
Yep, 3 into 1 doesn't go, and we saw that clearly at Maggots Beckett's there. It's you just got to be so careful in those opening stages. You know, you're all fired up. Everybody's so close together, and it's a big opportunity to make up places and just try and jump up the field. But at the same time, you just got to rein it in and be so careful, because it's very easy to make a mistake. And here we go, watching the start, seeing Oscar here, what happened. Just nerfed a bit. Yeah, by Antomarchi, and then rejoining. Looked like he got away, and that's it. The Lexus. Yeah, the Lexus rejoining.
The Lexus coming across the road. That's the problem with the tarmac on the inside of the corner there, really, that you just rejoin straight into somebody else, which is a bit of a problem. But yeah, unfortunately, that has meant Sandberg. I'm not sure if he decided to actually change tyres because of that, or whether he was just getting damage repaired, or quite how long the pit stop was. However, he's dropped a long way further back now. He's actually a minute 10 down on the front of the race already in this one. Yeah, 4 cars have been down pit lane already, and yeah, that's the bottom 4 cars, as you might be able to imagine. But the one beside them hasn't cleared itself yet. There is a mandatory pit stop during this race. However, it has to be during the middle 20 minutes of this race, whether that's just for tyres and fuel, or whether you're changing driver as well. You do have to come down pit lane throughout that portion. As we go a little bit further back, saw this pit at the end of the formation lap in the 17 car. And so may well have the advantage of a little bit more knowledge in terms of the tyres, but it might not be the worst way to do this, especially as an AM team with an AM driver starting. You don't want your AM driver starting on the wrong set of tyres, and so pitting at the end of the formation lap, while it set them back a fair deal, it might not have been the worst decision when we come to the end of this race. It might have been a very smart one by the end.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm speculating whether Oscar, if he did start on slick tyres, whether he had some damage and just thought, I'm going to go in the pits and just get this fixed now, and hopefully the tyre advantage might come into play and allow them to jump back up the field when other people change for slicks. Inevitably, it's just going to be a case of whether those drivers can run the wet tyres the halfway mark, or how quickly that track's going to start drying out. Because if it does dry out the way it's looking, certainly once the dry line's starting to materialise there, then they're going to be losing a lot of time on the wets, and pretty quickly those tyres are going to get destroyed. So I mean, it's interesting. I had a 2-hour race here actually in the summer in Brit Car, and sorry, just jumping onto the replay here. Car 85, the Lamborghini.
Second, but yeah, the Lamborghini, the only Lamborghini in the field, having some kind of problem here through the final corner, and goodness me, you can see how greasy it is because of the sliding through that particular corner there. It's not really a corner you'd normally think about, really. The section is kind of over at that point, but if you're on the wrong tyres, then it can easily become a real problem, and it has done there, unfortunately.
Yeah, Chapel onto onto the Hanger Straight. You'd normally think you're pretty safe. You're through the nastiest section, through through that whole complex there. But unfortunately, just getting a bit of a tank slapper on and standing him into the barriers, it looked like he avoided the worst of the contact, but still potentially picking up some damage there.
Let's hope it's not too bad, but 12th place at the moment for Fredriksson, just in front of Jordan there in the 187, just a little bit further back. This is the battle well, it's not really a battle for AM positions, but it is for Pro, 8th place overall anyway, as we're looking at Michael Hutchinson in 4th place in the AM category, quite a long way off at some of the leaders in this class now. As we go through Maggotts and Beckett, it's a nice 3-car battle going on here in the lower portion of the top 10. A number of the big cars being used today, I have to say, is Lexus, BMW and BMW, the larger GT3s that you can see in the array up towards Stowe, but nothing really doing for Hutchinson here in the 9 car. Although not too much point in him risking the entire car to actually get through here, because he's not actually battling these guys in terms of a position, since Hutchinson's in the AM class and Henry Handy is in the Pro class, so there's no point really throwing up the inside too vigorously at any inopportune moment. But if there's an opportunity, if the door's open, I think he'll certainly take it.
Yeah, it's one of those things when you're in a multi-class sort of track battle in a race like this, where if you're kind of, as the drivers, as these 3 cars are here bunched up, they all seem to be putting in sort of similar kind of times. There's no point ever risking anything and making a wild move. Sometimes you get it, you've got someone holding you up, and of course, then you want to get by and get putting in the times. But it's here it's just bragging rights, I think, isn't it? As they're fighting for track position. Yeah,
it kind of is at this early stage, as we see fastest lap of the race so far from Anders Amundsen, just as we were watching over the line there. 2nd place in Pro, 3rd place in the overall race. The track conditions now greasy, not damp anymore, and we'll start to see some of the wet runners coming into the pit lane for sure in the not too distant future. At the moment, Marquez in the Porsche, the only Porsche in the race, leading this one at the moment. Porsche always very good, very strong in the wet weather conditions, and showing that once again here today. Battle for P5 is going on as well here, a little bit further down. Gert Fischer is was 5th at the start of this lap. He's not anymore, and he's trying to gain some positions by the looks of things. Julian Bell trying to defend, but not really able to on his fellow BMW. And straight down the inside, Fischer might have 2 for the price of 1 here. Down the inside of Gartner as well. Outside line into the club chicane though, and that's going to make life very difficult. Late on the brakes though, giving the inside for the second part. If he can hold it there, there's a bit of contact. Stern defending, but it wasn't enough to hold Gert Fischer back in the end. This is 2 AM cars, let's not forget, and they need to not get caught up in this fight, because they do need to fight with each other for second in a minute, and they are doing that right now. Julian Bell takes the opportunity, very opportunistic driving from him actually, and he gets up into what's going to be 6th position there. Nice driving from everybody, but Gert Fischer was very, very aware of what was going on there, getting 2 passes done in a matter of 2 corners. Very impressive stuff from him.
Yeah, very close bit of elbows out there and rubbing door handles. I just got to say, I do love the look of the M4. It's such a mean looking car with the big grills on the front of it. Here we go. Yeah, see it from driver's perspective. Oof, definitely felt that.
Yeah, hopefully not damage, if any at all. It shouldn't be too harsh on that one. So that they'll hopefully continue. But looking further up towards the front, we did see Amundsen catch Antomarchi, a little bit fairly quickly, but not really happening anymore as we got Gartner in the pit lane. I'm just wondering if that is a change from wets to dries, although I've just seen the weather back again, and your comment about typical English weather is starting to ring true actually, because in 15 minutes time it's going to start raining again, which is starting to look a bit more familiar to us.
Yeah, as I was saying earlier, we had a 2-hour race here in Britcar this year in the Prague R1 that I was competing in, and we started really hot, burning sunshine, and within about 25 minutes we had a massive downpour, and at first you couldn't really tell if it was just spitting, but sure enough within a couple of laps it was really coming down hard, and all the drivers pretty much, bar like one or two of us, everybody went in for wets, and I stayed out on slicks, and it was yeah, it was quite entertaining driving the GP truck in the wet in slicks, and gives you some idea of what these guys are battling with right now.
They've certainly got their hands full, and it's going to be difficult to know for those, if they're starting on dries, they're definitely going to be in here in a moment, because it's going to start to get very wet. If they're on wets, can they hold out, or as you said earlier, are they going to drive on a dry circuit and completely shred them and have no tread left basically by the time the rain comes down? So we'll see on that one as well. There's a mistake going on there towards just outside the top 10, and a change for position a little bit further back. But now we're seeing Antomarski and Amundsen closing in on Watkin once again. Hearing some reports in the chat that people are just presuming that the Porsche of Marquez must be on wets to start this race, given the pace that it was going. And as I mentioned earlier on, the Porsche is very good on wets anyway, and it will rise to the fore in any wet weather race or mixed condition race. They wouldn't take them on overall, let's not forget, with a very similar car, with a very similar platform to that. So yeah, they're not bad, and currently leading right now. But how long is it going to stay like that for in this drying conditions kind of thing? I think we're starting to see Watkin falling back a little bit. I'm not sure that's entirely on pace really. There must be some kind of tyre thing going on here, because he's being caught very, very quickly in that Bentley now.
Yeah, they're just reeling him in, aren't they? It's going to be, I think it's only going to be about a lap or so. He's going to be really feeling that pressure. And I was just going to say, great to see some people, a lot of people actually jumping on the chat on the stream today. Some good conversation going on in there, so it's always nice to see. Good one from Trolls. I think pretty well summing it up, the weather in England is as stable as a common Russian nuclear reactor. Nice one, Trolls. Nailing it there.
Yeah, it's unstable at the best of times, as you can see, and we're about to see right now. And Tomarski is going to make a move here in the next couple of moments. You'd expect. Look at the amount of braking that Watkin had to do there through turn 1, as opposed to the BMW not really braking at all, to be honest, through that flying right-hander and into the loop. Now maybe a dive down the inside here through the left hand. It's always a risky one, and it doesn't seem to pay off with any reliability. So going to wait for a better opportunity, possibly into Brooklands and Luffield here in the next couple of corners, down the inside into the left-hander. Surely this is going to be a slam dunk manoeuvre really for the 137, although late on the brakes nicely from the Bentley, not really able to holding a wide line, which is helpful in wet conditions on occasion, but not on this occasion. And the 100 is going to be getting through here of Amundsen as well. Oh dear, Watkin trying to get in the pit lane here, but now if he's on wet tyres, I would be encouraging him the best I can as a teammate to stay out and just hold out for the next 10 minutes or so, because track conditions are going to change again soon. But clearly he can't hold out any longer, and it looks like those wet tyres have completely capitulated here, and he has to change them.
Yeah, you could see he was just turning into Brooklands there, checking his mirror, saw the other car coming through, and just steered it out wide a bit, took the safe option, and obviously that led him straight through. And yeah, I think probably just thinking it's not working on these tyres.
All of a sudden, the leader has made a mistake, and we've got a change for the lead here with 20 minutes into this race. Marquez suddenly making a mistake through Maggots and Beckett and losing a 3-second lead in a matter of 1 sector there. It just shows how these conditions are affecting these guys at the moment. They are going to again soon. But yeah, these guys on wet tyres are really starting to suffer, and all of a sudden the guys on slicks are rising towards the front. But how long is that going to go on for? I feel like we're going to see everybody making at least 2 pit stops in this race, given the changeable conditions. Everybody on wets really struggling, and you can see the big slide through there and off the road again. Goodness me, these conditions are not favourable right now, and at 10 minutes all of a sudden is looking a very, very long time. Here's how the lead changed.
Yeah, we can see there just turning into Abbey, was it? And
to wait a corner or two here for the actual mistake to happen. We'll wait and see from Magnus and Beckett's.
Yeah, cleanly through Copse, and then looking good, and then did well to keep it out of the barrier there, and going to cost him some time. Definitely rejoining. Going to be you can see, there we go. Yeah, sitting duck. They did well to avoid him actually coming through Chapel there.
Yeah, it could have been a bit of an accident there. I feel like I think he had to slow down a little bit as well, actually, through Copse corner. Bit of a slide there. I feel like I had to slow down a little bit just to make sure I didn't get a slow down penalty or have to serve any kind of penalty there, because you are technically cutting the circuit, I guess, even though it's not a time game. The game might give you one anyway. I think he slowed down a little bit for that as well, but already lost nearly 4 seconds, and you can see still struggling in that Porsche there, but might well be able to be a nuisance a little bit later in this race. But fair play to these guys. It's becoming clearer and clearer to me that these two started on the dry tyres in their BMW, which explain Anton March's lack of pace in the opening part of this race. But I was kind of, you kind of be disappointed that he was able to put it on qualifying and put it on pole, and then fall back so quickly. But he's actually done quite well to keep it on the road in the opening minutes of that race and not worry about those around him, and then push on from that when the conditions become better for that car. And he's making the most of these conditions at the moment, trying to get as much lead as possible while the track is good for this BMW.
Yeah, if you can keep your cool while those around you are losing their heads, it's going to pay off in the end. And clearly, he managed to do that, made the most of those tyres. Now they've come into their own as the track's drying out too fast.
Let's see, another change of position, and the Porsche all of a sudden off the podium here with Gert Fischer, who's been a man on a mission, I have to say, so far in this race. Third place right now for that BMW. It's a 1-2-3 for the German manufacturer at the moment, and Julian Bell looking to make it a 1-2-3-4, and also the AM lead as well, of course. But, he's already got that. He wants 4th position though. Let's see if he can get it into Copse, and he might well do here. Even the better run out of Luffield, he should be through here up the inside into Copse. Marquez's main job here is just to keep it on the road, and he's managing that for the moment. But how much longer can this go on for? Bell's into 4th position, AM lead of course as well, and this Porsche continues to fall through the field. It's a similar situation to what the front two had earlier in this race. Now Wagner Marquez has got to keep his head, make sure he doesn't burn out these tyres too much, overheat them too much through this section of the race, and then maybe a little bit later he can attack a little bit more when that rain comes down once more.
Yeah, you can see him really struggling for traction. It looks like those tyres are really overheating actually. He's just stepping out. He's just trying to rein it in, but it's so hard when you're in that situation. And then to make it worse, you start coming under pressure from other cars. You've got the Lexus bearing down on him now as well from Mitchell, and it's just the worst thing. You can feel the position just slipping through your hands like grain of sand, and it's not a nice feeling. And I think he's going to be giving way to the Lexus within a quarter. Oh, here we go. That's the move made cleanly through, and there he goes through Abbey.
There'll be another two coming up here as well, with the 28 BMW and the 9 BMW. Henry Handy first of all, then Michael Hutchinson as well. For a bit of an exit here is the 28 to try and manage that one, and it should be able to really with a good run through here and into Brooklands. Nicely down the inside here. Shouldn't be any contest once again. We've seen this before, and it's happening again, I'm afraid, for Marquez, keeping it on the road the priority right now and not holding on to places, losing them continually. It's going to be 8th place in a moment for this Porsche. A very stark contrast to what we saw only 5 minutes ago when it was leading here, only 3 laps ago. As we're seeing these guys going faster and faster and faster. Antomarchi with the fastest lap of the race in the last lap. looking to go down the inside there, but not able to. Here's the leader, though, going faster than ever. And after an eventful race so far, back to the front now for the 137, and able to completely drop Amundsen, who was able to get onto his coattails for a while. Not anymore. Pole sitter completely running away with this at the moment. We're not even half an hour in yet, so can't talk too soon, because the weather is coming, but he's extending the gap while he can.
Yeah, you know, watching the Porsche back again a minute ago, it's horrible. It's just making me think, you know, when a situation like that and you've got one car coming through, it pushes you offline, you lose that track position, and it's just, before you know it, the guy, another car back, it's everybody suddenly starts diving in, and it's not easy from a driver perspective to you know, keep your head together in these situations. And you know, now we're joining, who's it, Lamborghini, and this is a battle for the battle for the AM battle.
Yeah, is the 4th place in AM, 10th place overall at the 85 and the 99 by the looks of things, and the only Lamborghini in the race getting itself into the top half, which is good news for now, as Axel Svensson tries to make a move here, maybe a run through into Abbey across the Formula 1 pit straight, but not able to do anything into these very fast corners. Indeed, not much of a braking zone to really make a difference here, but a nice run through here for the BMW. Seems nicely settled with that slightly longer wheelbase, you might say, and looking every which way to try and get down the inside. Fredriksson were on board with the moment defending, but Svensson was willing to go even further to the inside there to make the move, although there was no space left really, so we're going to have to try in another place. Not really got the exit through the loop that really needed to get a move on into Brooklands, so it's going to have to be a little bit later on in the lap, you'd imagine. But yeah, that BMW new car, of course, the BMW M4 does look very settled, especially through these fast corners we saw through Abbey and Farm Curve there. It was very, very settled at high speed, which is an encouraging sign, certainly. It wasn't bouncing around like we sometimes see the Lamborghini doing over the bumps.
Yeah, the Lamborghini is a great car and it's fast in this game, but it can be a bit of a handful, and you know, you do have to hang on to it through the high-speed corners. It doesn't maybe quite have the high-speed stability that you've got in the BMW. I must admit, I'm not driven the M4 really in this game yet since it's been launched, and but my guess is it's going to have, well, we saw it there clearly, just more stability generally. So Axel making the most of that through Abbey and Farm.
Seems to be strong. It's occupying six of the top 7 places at the moment, with Henry, with Michael, the only one in the top 7. Not a BMW in 5th position for that Lexus. As we go back to this top 10 battle again after watching that change for P15, an Aston Martin duel going on there.
It was a great view a moment ago, wasn't it, from the back of that Lamborghini, flames shooting out the exhaust. It's yeah, one of the things, I love the graphics in this game. You know, when you see things like that, it's a good look.
It certainly was a good view, and yeah, on that occasion, Fredriksson was able to defend, and here it is again. It's same story really. Looks like we're watching a replay almost. Svensson looking to the inside, but deciding to commit to the outside line this time, which is a much better choice, because if you can hold it there, you get the inside for the loop. Oh, and it's a tight line. The Lamborghini squeezing as much as is possible, and finally through for the 99 BMW into the top 10 for the first time in a while. And it looks like they got the move done there nicely. Good racing, respectful racing. Fredriksson squeezed that car as much as possible, as much as was legal actually, and then finally gave up the room when they had to. Yeah, great racing between the two teams.
Yeah, good driving from Axel there. You know, he just kept it clean, put the car there, just pushed him off track position, and just you know, did what he needed to do to get the move done. And now, as the rain starts to come down, he's extending that lead. But hey, it's raining. Anything could happen now.
The wipers are on again, and the moisture is falling at a bit of a faster rate than it was earlier. We're going to see a little bit more rain in 5 minutes' time, it says, and then it's going to back off again. But that prolonged period of rainfall is not like what we saw earlier, where it cleaned up pretty quickly. However, you can see 8th position at the moment. That Porsche currently over 30 seconds off the lead. So the first wet tyre runner that we know of, over 30 seconds down, and presumably those tyres have got to be pretty not great at this point, really. However, there's a prolonged period of rainfall coming up, so what do you do? Can you last these next 19 minutes till the pit stop window, or are we going to see some of these guys in before that 20-minute pit stop window? I really think we are.
Yeah, it's just hard to gauge, isn't it? Looking, as we said earlier, we don't know who's running dry tyres, we don't know who's running wets, but we do know that the leader is already 2 seconds down on his lap from the lap he's just done. So we're just going to see his time coming up, 2:03. So yeah, big drop from the what was he doing before, sort of 2-minute flat. So yeah, clearly already that's having a big impact, and we're going to see. I think we're going to see some positions changing places before the pit stop. Certainly. Yeah, we've got a 20-minute window. Have we got for the pit stop?
Anyway, so when we get to 1 hour 10 remaining and 50 minutes to go, we'll between those times, any time you can make your driver change and make your pit stop, your tyre change. You probably need some fuel as well for this 2-hour race, because you're not going to quite go that long on one tank, so you're going to need a bit of fuel as well. But can they get there is the big question. Looking at Antomarchi already, it's becoming a struggle for everybody out there at the moment on these dry tyres in these greasy conditions, as it says at the moment. Most of the lap times of the Porsche as well at the moment. Marquez, the first of the wet tyre runners that we know of, 2:13 on the last lap in the dry conditions on wet tyres. Ouch is all you can say to that, I'm afraid, because that's an awful lot of time lost. Even 10 seconds on this last lap lost by him to the leader. But these guys are struggling already. The slick tyres will not be able to grip anywhere near as well as those treaded ones. But how much tread is left, as I said earlier on those wet tyres? Are we going to see some pit stops? And who is going to cope with these conditions the best? Julian Bell looks like he's going well at the moment in the BMW. In the AM car, let's not forget, AM driver putting in a fantastic performance early on, 4th place. And he's ahead of more than half of the pro field in this one. So we're getting off to a fantastic start. Already got 4 cars in the pit lane as we speak. It's absolute chaos out there in Silverstone at the moment. The track has gone to damp, and wow, it could get very busy down in pit lane very shortly.
Yeah, I think if I was out there right now, I'd be counting down the time to the pit stop window. But like you say, 3 or 4 of those drivers already just calling time and jumping in the pits, thinking, it's not worth it. It's not worth staying out here fighting the car. Let's just get in, get some wet tyres on, get back out, get your head down, and try and claw back those lap times. Because sometimes up to a point you can manage the slick tyres in the wet, but then it's suddenly just you're just losing too much time fighting the car, and before you know it, you have a spin, and you're only kidding yourself, really.
Now the leader has decided to pit here and take the penalty of changing tyres here, Antomarchi there. But the other leaders haven't seen any other leader coming into the pit lane here. So there's a big change in the race now with the rain coming down, and then looking at the top right hand side of the screen once again, in 15 minutes it's going to go overcast again. It's going to stop raining once more, so who knows what to do at this stage. It's changing all the time, and the track conditions are changing at a fast rate of knots. So it keeps raining and then not raining, and it's not that heavy rain either, so you can stick it out here if you've got the tyre heat and the skill to keep it on the road. Then it's all fine. Gert Fischer looks like he's struggling with a bit of grip out there at the moment, running very wide through the right-hander there, and into Abbey they go once more, trying to keep things all together. They are losing time to Amundsen by looks things. It looks like he's holding on to these conditions very well, but Fischer definitely struggling. That's twice he's gone off in the last 3 corners.
Yeah, he was using all the runoff and then some through Club Corner, wasn't he? And then now as he's coming through the loop, and Bell must be absolutely over the moon with 3rd place. And again, is he going to send it up the end? It's going wide. No, is he going to send it through Brooklands? Yeah, nice move. He's cleanly through there. Very well done. And he's going to hold that all the way through Luffield, I think, is he? Or is Mitchell going to get the switch back on him? It's going to be tight if he can hold that.
Oh dear me, there's very close side-by-side racing between the two. Julian Bell was able to get down the inside into Brooklands, and then was on the inside for Luffield as well, as we saw the 103 do the crisscross, and now Fisher on the outside line. Bit of a bump into Copse on dry tyres on a wet circuit. Absolutely not what you want, but they're still almost going side by side up towards Magnus and Beckett's now, which is absolutely fantastic racing between the two. Outside line looks like for Fisher, and he's finally going to have to yield here. Julian Bell takes second place in an AM car, which is fantastic for him, and he's got a pro driver coming up in 13 minutes time as well, so goodness knows where they can end up by the end of this race. Now, where is Antomarchi? Currently 10th position. We'll see how quickly he can get through the field here. Marquez not really making much of an impression on the rest of the field. He's gaining a little bit of time, but not all that much, as we look at Capelli, one of those who's got one of two drivers who's got a 30-second stop-go penalty, along with Gardner in the 420 Aston Martin. As there goes Antomarchi on one of the dry tyre runners. Not sure what that stop-go is actually through though, or what it's actually for though, which is. We'll try and get them off. Looks like it was for speeding in the pit lane. 30-second stop and go penalty for them to serve, unfortunately, after all of that. So that is unfortunate for them, but you've got to abide by the pit lane speed. But I suppose it's kind of difficult though in these conditions. You can imagine they were skating it on the brakes, dry tyres, wet circuit. Difficult to slow down, but you've got to remember that when you get into the pit lane.
Yeah, it's very easy to do, you know, speeding into the pit lane. If you, you're always trying to win time during a pit stop, but sometimes more haste, less speed, and certainly in that case, yeah, it's not panned out quite the way we wanted. But it's going to be interesting to see what kind of times Antomarchi puts in once those tyres are working, and just looking to see now what time he can post versus the leader's time currently of 2 minute 14 lap. Whether he can claw back that time he's lost in that pit change.
Yeah, let's. How far is he off the lead at the moment? Yeah, 51 seconds at the last count, according to my timing at the moment. It says that he's on for a 2:06 at the moment, which will be 10 seconds quicker than Amundsen has just managed. You wouldn't imagine anybody's going to pit at this stage with 15 minutes to go and dry conditions coming up. Although it won't dry immediately, so you never know. Another position being made here. The 404 Aston Martin dispatched very easily indeed from Antomarchi, and he's up another place, albeit on an AM car. So currently 6th in the pro race, but to 8th in the overall. Is that right? No, I think he's 5th.
If he's making 10 seconds a lap, and you say we've got 15 minutes. 2:09, sorry, so over 10 seconds a lap he's taking out of them with 15 minutes to go to the pit window. That's what, seven and a bit laps. That's sorry, maths isn't my forte, but that's got to be over a minute that he's potentially going to take out of them. So I think, and he's already up to 8th now. I think if he can.
I think he might well take the lead yet.
I think he made a wise choice there. I think he, took. You've got to be decisive when you're in a situation like that as well. You can think about it, and I guess it's one of the advantages, when you've got someone calling strategy for you, or a teammate who can sit there and crunch a few numbers whilst you're focusing on the act of driving. Personally, I'm not that good at mental arithmetic whilst I'm driving at the same time, but you just need to make that decision and be like, yeah, okay, let's go for it. And Antomarchi making the best of that. Well, I think not many of the drivers went for it really.
Nobody else has pitted almost. We'll try and do a little bit of maths here at the moment. 7.2 seconds was the actual gap, because he was on for a 2. He might have made a mistake somewhere, or our deltas could just be wrong halfway through the lap. Not sure, but he's lost a bit of time in the final sector, obviously, because we're not running peak pace at the moment. Looks like Sandberg here, by the way, is on dry tyres, wet tyres. By the way, he's driving right now, trying to recover from that spin on the opening lap and a collision with one of the Lexuses through the first few corners. But yeah, 7 seconds gained from Antomarchi on that lap. About 15 minutes to go until it gets properly dry and the tyres start to even out. So it might well be 7 laps, 7 times 7, about 42-ish. And he's 44 seconds down at the moment, so I think it could be very, very close, but he might just about be able to take the lead. The one advantage that he does have is that, unlike the situation the wet tyre runners had before, like Marquez, where they were kind of left out on a dry circuit on wet tyres, just kind of shredding them, as that Porsche has been doing so far. He's got the pit stop window in 8 minutes, so when it dries, he's going to be able to make that tyre change during a pit stop window when everyone else is making a tyre change anyway. So he's going to time that very well indeed, and he's going to be able to not lose as much as Marquez has, as we're just about to see that Porsche just up in front. The effects of driving wet tyres on a dry circuit are about to be writ large to us right here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting again because looking at the weather, this rain's going to hold for quite a bit, and when that tyre window, that pit stop window opens, it's how long he can stretch how long this rain is going to hang on for. If it's going to rain for that 20-minute pit stop window and then start to dry out, then what do you do? Again, do you wait until the end of the window? Do you take that last minute pit stop change just as the rain's stopping and it's starting to go dry again? It's just a constant gamble. I mean, the weather gods in this race are really throwing everything at them, aren't they? And I think it's just, of course, it comes down to skill, but a race like this is fantastic to watch because that tyre choice just at the right moment can really make or break your whole race. And it's interesting seeing Antomarchi, how this is going to play out for him. I really enjoying watching him carve his way through the field as he comes past Marquez now in the Porsche. I mean, he's gaining 8 seconds a lap, is it? It's a big chunk.
Looks like it. We'll see what it is this lap, but I have to say, well, Amundsen went a bit quicker that time. So maybe it will be, it was 14.7 that time, so maybe the time gain will be slightly less this time around, or maybe Antomarchi is going to go quicker himself, but we'll find out right now. As he crosses the line, clips into 7th place, and he gains 6.2 that lap, so it's hovering around 6 to 8 seconds a lap. We can average it out at 7, and judging by what we saw earlier on, he's now only 30 seconds down on the leaders, but we're 6.5 minutes away from a pit stop window and only 5 minutes away from this rain actually ending. So he's still 30 seconds back. He does need to pull out a good. He's got probably 3 more laps, maybe, of these conditions, of him gaining this amount of time. He's going to get to within 10 seconds of this car, but it's looking like this rain might end a little bit earlier than we were expecting. And he might not quite get there, but we'll see how long the track holds the moisture for. Yeah, it's it's going to be whether that gamble's going to pay off or not. We'll have to see where he gets up to in the grid. I mean, what position was he in when he pitted? Was he third? He was first, or
he was
certainly
first.
Yeah,
okay. So I mean, it's a bold decision to be in first and come into the pits, isn't it? And drop down to 10th or 11th or wherever it put him, but certainly watching at the moment here we go, see how the Bentley battle for P18. So this is Sheridan and Webber battling away, and the Bentley Bentley sending it wide there, and nice move, but is the Lexus going to get him on the cutback? No, he's closed the door.
Oh, well,
making that Bentley as wide as he could through there, and looks like he's going to hold it onto the hanger straight, but it's I think we're going to see a move from the Lexus coming into Stowe.
Not going to go down without a fight by the looks of things. Around the outside quite possibly, but not enough grip out there really. At this stage in the race, certainly is too much water out there really to make it around the outside, so it looks like it's going to be 18th for Sheridan by the looks of things. Yeah, just seeing, I think that's Bentley. That's one of the Bentleys, at least, that went around on the first lap of this race. That 22 car, and certainly Sheridan is climbing up the order as if he's out of position in the race at the moment, which would seem to be accurate. We'll see how far he can get up the positions. And indeed, Sandberg, who's in 12th position at the moment, went around for that spin on the first lap and in the pit lane after only one lap as well. It looks like he's recovered fairly well. Unfortunately got half a minute up to 11th place, so he's going to have a hard time gaining any more places from here, but you never know. And he's going to keep going at the best he can. The only problem these pro cars that are out of position will now have, like Marquez for example, and indeed Sandberg as well, any of the guys who are behind Bell at the moment, which most of them are, we're going to have pro drivers in these AM cars to end off this race, so it's going to be a full pro grid by the end of this one, and that is going to make it more difficult for these guys to actually come through the field, which is, it might see this McLaren stay outside the top 10.
Yeah, it might well be a possibility. At the moment, I mean, Oscar's been he's done well to get the car back up to 12th place from the start that he had, and he's putting in what's his last time? I'm just looking at the board, 2:07. So yeah, I mean he's hammering away out there, isn't he? He's going to be catching the 25 seconds to the car in front, though. He's got to just got to keep putting those times in, and I think is it 25 seconds I'm seeing? Yeah. He's got to keep his head down and just stay focused, and an hour and 12 to go in the race. Anything could happen.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you never know, as we see on the right hand side of our screen, Antomarchi gaining positions once more, 5th place now, and that Lexus looking to be demoted in the next few moments. 15 seconds up to the leader now. Big gain on that last lap of 7.3 seconds from the BMW, so it's still happening here with the damp conditions, but this is the problem with more cars concentrated up towards this end of the grid, so that he's going to be slowed down ever so slightly by a few of them, looking to make a move through Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel, but not able to. The Hanger Straight and Stowe is going to have to be where this move gets done with the favourable tyres, the unfavourable tyres. The Lexus wants to be on the racing line at all costs, by the looks of things, just chopping across the nose of the BMW in a non-orthodox way, but that's just to make sure you're on the dry-ish line, I guess you might say, at this stage in the race, and just keep it on the road at this stage. But Antomarski makes his way through. However, he's got to pass another couple of cars, probably on the next lap in this race, as the rain is stopping as we speak and the conditions look like they're going to be overcast for the next while. We'll see how long it takes to dry out here, but Antomarski in that 137 still a fair way from the lead here.
Yeah, it's interesting. Silverstone, it had some quite in real life, certainly it's got some quite funny lines in the wet. Some strange places where you tend to find grip you wouldn't normally expect it. One of my friends, actually my next door neighbour, is an instructor there, and we did a bit of work before that race I had, the 2-hour race, where it really pays to get some local knowledge sometimes on where you can and can't find grip in a situation like this. It can pay off dividends, and we're seeing all the drivers battling here with in the changing conditions. It's almost sometimes from lap to lap. You suddenly feel a bit more grip developing from one place to another, and it's the drivers that can feel out that grip and maximise that lap per lap as the track dries or gets worse, that you can really start to try and find those gains and make up positions, as Antomarchi's doing now.
He's making up places into second here, or going to try through on Fisher. A little bit of a bump between the two BMWs, but nicely through. The track is now drying, as you can tell, though, and only 5 seconds was the gap that time around. And as you can see at the top of your screen as well, we've got the pit window open for the next 20 minutes. So if indeed these wet tyres start to fail a little bit, and in terms of pace, and he starts losing time to those dry runners around him, then he is going to be in the pit lane and changing driver in that 137 car. So we'll be looking out for that in the next couple of moments. because yeah, you've got to make a driver change in this race, unless you want a penalty, of course. We're going to be seeing a bit of a driver change there, hopefully soon. But yeah, 5.1 seconds was the gain only from the 137 that time. Looks like he's still gaining time here. Amundsen still struggling that little bit in these trying conditions, but he's got a real advantage, Antomarchi, of being able to just dive in all of a sudden when this starts to go a little bit wrong. It looks like we're finally going to get a little bit of sustained dry running in this race for the first time in a little while, but you just never know what the weather's going to do next, really, because we've had 3 changes of weather in the first 50 minutes of this race. Quite remarkable, really. So who knows what's going to happen in the next part of this race. It's going to be very, very unpredictable indeed, but this gap for the lead is still coming down. The damp conditions are going to be with us probably for the next lap, you would say.
Yeah, I mean, pit window now open, and we've only seen so far 1 car coming into the pits, and yeah, just under 6 seconds between Amundsen and Antomarchi, and track now looking consistently dry, certainly for the next 15 minutes at least, unless we get another curveball. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see now who comes into the pits, who stays out, who just rolls the dice that bit more and make the most of that pit window with 18 minutes still to go before they need to complete their driver change, or as you say, take their 60-second penalty if they're going to do this as a 1-horse race.
Yeah, a couple of them are. We'll wait to see who is. We see Fredriksson and Marquez in. Let's have a replay though of the 93. This is the car that started on wets and flew out to an early lead, but the wets, the tread has been shredded here, and you can see, oh goodness me, look at the struggles going through the corner there. Yeah, overheating tyres, wet tyres completely destroyed, and that is the result, unfortunately.
It did look like a puncture, didn't it? You could just see the smoke coming off the tyre as he came into, was it Club he was coming into? But yeah, just those tyres will only take so much before they cry enough, and that's exactly what we saw happening just there. 3.7 seconds now, the gap between Amundsen and Antomarchi, and you can see him. He's got him in his sights, hunting him down, and we're going to see a good battle on our hands here now as he comes round the loop and on the run down the Hamilton Straight into Brooklands. What's he going to do here? It's too far to send it up the inside, I think, at this point in time, but it's down to under a second. He's reeling him in, and as they come through Luffield, oof, nearly a little love tap on the rear there around Luffield. And
is there going to be a pit lane from either of them? Looks like they're staying where they are. So 1 hour 6 remaining. It looks like this lead is going to change again. Amundsen is going to do well to hold on for any amount of time here. It's going to be no contest really for Antomarski to get through. He got through on Fischer for second in towards Maggots and Beckett. Is he going to do the same here for the lead? Quite possibly. On board we go with him now with the Pulse car. Not able to here. You see the track still drying, so these two will become very equal on pace, and they do look fairly even, but Antomarski just able to hold tighter lines here, and you can see now through the very final turn there's going to be a big run here, and through Chapel, power down, slipstream as well, and there's going to be a pass here surely. The inside line for Amundsen trying to hold on, but he's going to have to drive through all the wet stuff here, which is not ideal on dry tyres. Let's see, you just see how much later he can brake in the 137. Absolutely no contest. Amundsen put up a good fight there, but in the end there's only so much you can do on dry tyres.
Yeah, and I think we saw Antomarchi making the most of the bit of wet grip, probably around the edge of the around the outside of the corner, and as you say, there was nothing he could do. He could try and block him all he liked through the inside, but Antomarchi was coming through that corner whether he liked it or not.
He absolutely was, and through he went. The 100 then demoted, and the 137 into the lead. It's still a BMW occupying the first 4 places, but in the end that strategic call to go on to the wet tyres has been a good one into the lead, and I think we're going to have another look at what happened into Stowe Corner. As I said, defending on the wet line there on dry tyres, not ideal really. And despite a bit of a slide from Anto Marchi, there is the new leader, the Pulse BMW, as you can see, straight through and into first position, already racing out to a 2-second lead here. Still got 14 minutes, and you'd imagine the track's going to dry by then, so he's in absolute dreamland, and he's going to hope that these conditions stay for as long as possible. He's probably going to be hoping they stay for the next 6 laps or so he can pit right at the end of the pit stop window with as big an advantage as possible. Somehow I don't think that's going to happen. However, he'll be wishing it does, as we see a few more pit stops. Still not expecting this car to be in until it becomes time for drives, and if they have timed this one perfectly, which I think they may well have done, and they're going to be giving themselves a big pat on the back at the end of the day, because this has been a great call.
Yeah, they really called it just right, didn't they? I mean, they went against the grain. They were the only car out there to do it, and as you say, leading a race in first place. It's a brave decision to take, but they just stuck to it. And it's paid off right into their hands. They've really made the most of that opportunity, and and as you say, they've got just over 13 minutes left to make the most of these wet tyres on the damp conditions, and then track just changing to greasy now, in for dry tyres at the end of the pit window, and they've made the best decision out there. But this car, the BMW we're seeing now, has made 4 stops, I think. John Seville in number 18, in 18th place. 4 stops is that's a long old strategy in anyone's book.
Yeah, I think it's all stemmed from the fact that I saw a little bit earlier on that, as we got side by side here, Sandberg is still making his way through the field, by the way, 9th place for him now. It all comes from Jonathan Seville, a message he put in a little bit earlier on about his co-driver's game crashing earlier on in this race, or as they were gridding up. So he was basically given the dilemma of breaking the rules and starting the race as a pro driver in a pro-am team, and changing over as quickly as possible, or not starting the race at all. And I think they decided to go with the first one, and just get Seville to do the first lap at least, and then get their co-driver to start the race as it probably should be done. So I think that might be at least explain one of the pit stops. But yeah, you're right, that is too many pit stops really, as we see. This is James Sheridan going around, unless he's changed driver at this stage. It's definitely that same Bentley though. It is Sheridan. It looks like he's made a pit stop though, and he'll be taking that penalty by the looks of things in this one. Yeah, he will be, because he's on his own in this one, I'm afraid. So going to be a penalty for him a little bit later on. But the track conditions have changed again. It's greasy now as the conditions continue to dry out here at the moment, and we're going to see quite what's going to happen over the next portion of the race. Surprisingly few pit stops so far. I'd say less than half of the field has stopped, but all of the top 10 still yet to pit here. Some of them have been forced to, like the 93 Porsche, and some of them, especially if you're an AM team, you want to get your AM driver out as quickly as possible, but obviously the tyre strategy has not made that always possible, and for these AM drivers out here today, it's been not a straightforward first stint whatsoever.
Yeah, they're definitely going to have been put through their paces, I think, in these testing conditions. And as you say, Ewan, it's a real trade-off. Sometimes you do want to get the pro in, get them out there and unleash them as quickly as you can. But at the same time, if they're out there on a set of tyres that's beneficial to the track conditions and playing into their hands, then you've got to balance that out, and you definitely need someone who can crunch the figures on that to sometimes make the most of that, make the most of any gain that you can find really. But yeah, like you say, pretty much the majority of the field currently staying out, with only coming up to halfway now in the pit window with 10 minutes left on the board. So in the next 3 or 4 laps, we're probably going to see a bit of a flurry of activity in the pits as we see the Bentley. Who's this in the Bentley at the moment? This is
Walking highlights of things in
putting the BMW under pressure as Oscar comes up behind to add to the party, and says, while you guys are playing around,
yes.
I'm gonna run through and take my opportunity here and get past all of you.
And he absolutely is. He looks like he's almost lapping these guys at this. Oh dear! And there's a late braking there. These two caught up in their own battle. Very nearly clattered into Sandberg there. 7th place though for Oscar Sandberg. I said he was going to have a difficult job making up any more positions because he's so far behind some of the others. But he's caught these guys. He's gone straight past them. Presumably, he's just driving so much faster. Svensson and Watkin still battle though, but yeah, getting caught up in your own battle not always ideal for those two. But thankfully, there was no contact between anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I said, so was it 10-15 minutes ago? Oscar's just got to get his head down and get those lap times in and just keep reeling people in, and he's done it well. You know, he's up to 7th now, and perfect example there where you see two cars battling, and you just think, brilliant, they're having their own race. And you just you use that opportunity to reel them in and find your way through, and that's exactly what Oscar did now, as we see Benson just thinking, call it time, come into the pits. Great driving. Yeah, let's see it. And he saw his moment, said, yep, thanks, I'll have that, around the outside and through again into I think Village was that. The Bentley having to think about it through the loop, but perhaps not. And Svensson really, thinking that's the time to come into the pits for new tyres, I think.
Probably rightly so. We're in this situation at the minute. We're seeing the lap times come closer and closer now. Only 1.8 gained by the leader on 2nd place this last time, and the wet tyres are actually holding up surprisingly well here. Given what I saw earlier on from the Porsche, I thought that maybe they would fall apart a little bit earlier than this, but they're holding on well now. Well, I say that. They're clearly not holding on that well because he's in the pit lane now, so Antomarchi wants to change tyres, and he's all too happy to do so. Into the pit lane for him, and we're going to see a driver change now for the Frenchman. He's going to be getting out, and we're going to see a new driver in. We've also got Julian Bell in, and Michael from the Lexus also in there. Andre Michael into the pit lane. So pit stops really starting to happen. You'd expect this to be largely because the dry tyres coming more into effect, and also there's not too long left in the pit window. You've got to make sure you don't run over, and that's exactly what they're doing right now.
Yeah, it's absolutely the last thing you want to do is miss the pit window. You've, sometimes it's best to play it safe and just get that one in without leaving yourself too much pressure. And as we see the BMW now of Amundsen, he's going to be in pretty soon, I'm pretty sure. What did we say? 6.5 minutes left. So you certainly don't want to run it too close to the wire there. You could, lose all that hard work. Yeah,
absolutely. You're going to. I'm not sure what the penalty is, but you will get one if you run over. It's a very silly penalty to get as well, isn't it? Really. So you don't want to be doing it. But only 4 cars even can indeed do it here. I've got 2 more laps to do it. Either this one, the next one, or the one after that, and then they'll be picking up the penalties. Try to look through the field for anybody who's out the pit lane again and not change driver, although it does take a little bit of time for it to actually sort itself out, so I might hold off on that discussion for just a moment, to see if we can spot any familiar names up and down the field and see who's going to be getting a penalty in this one, because I'm not entirely sure on the mechanics of the driver change in ACC particularly, but I feel like the penalty might be instated because as we've got the 404 speeding in the pit lane, I'm afraid. I think that's the orange card just on the side of our screen there. I think we just watched it actually. Just speed in the pit lane there briefly. But I'm not entirely sure what the driver change time would be, and if those who aren't driver changing, if they actually gain any time here, and if that's why they've got a penalty or not. But we'll see as we watch car 24 going for a quick spin. Difficult little section, Magnussen Beckett's, and even more so in these conditions. Kept it just under control though, and not into the barriers at least, which is a positive.
Yeah, that was Bell, I think we saw just there, was it? Number 24. He's had a good race up until now, and I'm just trying to see him on the board. See where he's.
Well, it's Bell's car, but he's got out of it. Forsberg now.
Sorry. Yeah. Here we go. Olsen Forsberg. Sorry. Yes. Yeah. Just still holding on to second place in the Pro-Am class, but yeah, he'll be frustrated at that. I guess difficult for a driver, hopping out. A driver change, coming onto a greasy track, you're just trying to get a feel for, again, get into a good rhythm, and easy to sort of go out a bit, come out of the pits flying out there like a rocket, and suddenly, find it there's a little bit less grip than you first thought.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird as we see a pretty big stop and go 30 seconds drive. That's all those words in the wrong order. 30-second stop go is what I meant to say. Gert Fischer got it, unfortunately, for speeding in the pit lane. Well, it wasn't him. It was Constantinidis there on the 103. Going to have to come down pit lane again and serve a 30-second stop go. They were running in third place, I believe, third or fourth, battling with the 24 for those uppermost positions, and unfortunately fallen afoul of speeding in the pit lane, which is really not what you want at all there. They're going to drop a long way back, because not only have you got the whole trip down pit lane, but you've got to stop 30 seconds. So it's going to cost them nearly a minute in this one, and that is going to be really costly in quite a tight field, especially up towards the front.
Yeah, they're going to be absolutely gutted. And Oscar now up to third place, but I'm kind of eagerly watching, because with just under 3 minutes now, he's going to need to get in the pits fairly quickly to avoid a pit stop penalty and missing that window. But great drive from Oscar, starting the race in second place, second on the grid, dropping right the way back down the field, and then fighting his way all the way back up to currently third place. Saying second or third place. But either way, a great drive from the Norwegian there.
Now we're coming towards the end of the pit stop window. Only 3 to go in terms of 3 drivers to pits still. The 101 is the one cutting it finest. I think they're just about going to make it, but we better hope that Watkin doesn't have a spin here, because then he will be out of the pit stop window. So 2:05 for a lap time. That just crossed 5 seconds ago. He is going to make it here, but they're cutting it quite fine. They want to stay on these tyres for as long as possible, which just surprised me a little bit, especially since Watkin is supposed to be the slower driver of the pair, and also still on dry tyres, so there's no advantage for him staying out on wets if they were still... they wouldn't still really be working at this stage, because we're getting a drying circuit, but confusing decision for me, really, why they're leaving it so long. You'd normally get your AM driver out at the earliest opportunity, but I've got a lot of faith in Watkin here, which is supposed good to see.
Yeah, sometimes it's as well. It's down to track position. If you've got clean air in front of you and you're not losing time in traffic, then it can make sense. But yeah, we're seeing the leader finally coming into the pits now. Last minute for lastminute.com for Amundsen, and with just coming up to 1 minute left on the board of that pit window, so he's running it about as fine as he could have done there, really.
Yeah, he certainly couldn't have gone another lap, otherwise he would definitely be or would definitely get a penalty, as we see him changing driver tyres, and also a bit more fuel in that car as well to last the extra 50 minutes of this race till the very end. Not going to be a full tank by any means, but it is going to be a little bit of fuel here, probably more than half at this stage.
Yeah, I always think it would be nice, wouldn't it, in the game, if you could see them actually doing if they could animate it with the drivers coming in and out of the car and the mechanics actually changing the tyres. It would be a great thing, just to add a little bit more drama to the, bit more realism to the effects. But hey ho, not to worry. Oscar's still out there, and actually, where is Oscar? We're down to 5, 4, 3. Oscar, the lost chance saloon there with the pit stop. That was that's got to be one of the closest pit stop window strategies I think I've ever seen in this game.
Let's not forget, just to reiterate, that these guys don't have to have completed their pit stop by the time that. Oh my goodness, Jonathan Seville having a wayward moment there through turn one. But yeah, they don't have to have completed their stop by the end of the window, but they do have to have at least entered the pit lane. So that's why we can calculate it so easily by the lap times. You just have to be entered into the pit lane, as we see a 6.7 second lead now for Morant, who's taken over from Antomarchi in the lead of this race, and Truls Solberg is into the pit lane, excuse me, into the car. We saw Truls in the chat earlier, not really well, watching along, as you can see, watching along for everybody actually, and indeed the 100 car as well. But yes, 1-2 at the moment, and only 5 seconds down. 5 seconds. We got an Aston Martin off the road of Gartner, one of those who hasn't changed driver, and I'm afraid straight into the pit lane here with 50 minutes to go. I think that might have been a retirement, unfortunately. Maybe our first of the day from the 22 that started, other than those who couldn't get to the start line, of course. But maybe the first retirement of this race, and indeed it is. So we've got Morant in the lead, but getting caught very, very quickly here indeed. It's a pro car. You expect the drivers to be very similar on pace to each other, but Morant a good 3 seconds down there. We'll see what the lap time is for Truls Solberg here. I think this isn't going to be representative because of the it's not. It's nearly 3 minutes because of the pit stops. However, that gap is coming down as we're about to see a replay here at the Club Chicane of something.
Yeah, I think we maybe had a bit of contact between the BMW and the Aston. Just catching a back marker there, and
just pulled off.
Weird.
That is very weird. I thought there was contact there, but
maybe that's
just pulled off.
Yeah, executive decision. Had enough.
Yeah, you're driving on his own here. I just wonder if something went wrong with that driver change or something like that. I won't be able to find that car now, I don't think. No, it's retired, but yeah, it's the 420 Aston Martin. I'll see if it's entered on its own here for this race, and if not, then we know that there's been a problem there. It's not, so there's clearly been a problem somewhere along the line, because we're supposed to see Adam Gartner out of that car not so long ago, but unfortunately that didn't happen, and so he is, or they are, out of this race now. Meanwhile, though, the gap is down to 4 seconds. Solberg gaining time, hand over fist here on the 137. We could be about to see a change for the lead very, very soon, because this BMW is much faster than the one in the lead at the moment.
Yeah, I'm keen to see what time Truls is about to post on his lap. 2:03, the last lap time from Morant, and Solberg, I reckon, if I know Truls, is probably going to be putting in something like well, certainly sub 2 minutes, I'd expect, on a fast track on a new set of tyres, albeit he's going to be running a bit more fuel, potentially. Well, I'm sure both those cars are going to be pretty evenly matched in terms of fuel. 2.8 seconds between them, and yeah, Truls banking sub 2 second time there. 1 minute 59.377. So I think we're going to see him, or rather Morant's going to have him in his rear view mirrors pretty soon.
Yeah, and I don't think he's going to be able to do much to hold Solberg back here, because this is moving down very quickly.
Yeah.
Driving. Well, let's see. I don't think it was fastest last time. Oh, it was last time around. 59.3 into the 59s we are at the moment. A couple of tenths quicker than it is Conrad in second, and Fred Olsen Forsberg as well. They're all catching the leader here. We could well see this 137 fall off the podium if they're not careful, into an AM car in the form of the 24. So this is coming down 2 seconds. And once you get sight of the leader, you really do start to get motivation. That's exactly what this car has got right now. The 100 bearing down on the leader.
Yeah, Morant getting held up as well by a back marker. That won't have helped him at all coming through Village and Club Corner. And okay, Truls has got to get past him, but yeah, cleanly past the Aston Martin there, nicely through, no drama. Don't think he really lost any time there or track position as he comes through the loop now, and on the run down to Brooklands. He's going to be giving Morant a few drops of perspiration. You can imagine as he sees him now coming up. Going to be not going to be long before he's through, and very large in the rear view of that BMW M4. As he comes around Luffield now, and the run down towards Copse Corner. This is going to be interesting coming through here. How much controls take out of him.
Goodness, 58.7, the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, purple.
So
yeah.
Purple lap time there with 44 minutes to go. So the lead surely is going to change here. Miranda's picked up the pace a little bit here with mid 2 minutes there, but it's still only 2 seconds slower. Maybe now that the pressure is on, it's going to drive a little bit faster here and try and get away, but there's not an awful lot you can do at this stage. As we look from the we look rearward from the BMW at the moment at the fellow BMW, of course, into Stowe, trying to stay in front for the moment. Get deep into this race now. A lot of work put in by your teammate. A lot of pressure on Miranda here to try and hold on.
Yeah, here he comes into Vale.
Yeah, almost the inevitable approaching us at the moment.
Yeah, and Trill's making all the use of the full use of the track there as they come through into Abbey and Farm. What's he going to do here? Great section of the track here where you really get the car loaded up. You really feel the G-forces. You're hanging on with every bit of grip through this section. And here we go. This is where you can really make the time up through Village in the Loop. And I think Trills is going to be all over the back of him on the run down to Brooklands here. I think Amundsen's going to see the writings on the wall. Is he going to concede the position before they come through into Brooklands? A bit of a slide there from Trills, just trying to set himself up for a good exit out of Luffield. This corner goes on forever. It's really tricky sometimes, trying not to get too early on the throttle, push the car into understeer. You just got to carry the speed through into Luffield, let the car roll and wait a bit, and then get on the power nice and early, power down into Copse. Such a fast corner, such a fantastic corner as well. And I've got to say, Morant's doing a good job actually. He's clearly working that BMW pretty hard to keep Trolls behind him, but I don't know, with 41 minutes left to go, what's going to happen? Who's your bets on, Ewan?
Oh God, I do find it hard to see Thomas Morant holding on here really, because he's, as you mentioned, over 40 minutes left in this race. A bit deep from Solberg there into Stowe, so bought himself a little bit of time there. Although he didn't really do much to get it, he has got a little bit of time to himself, although however brief that may be. There's a long way to go in this race. He's not going to go down without a fight, I don't think, but I think he is going to be going down at the end of the day. Solberg getting through, I think, fairly easily in the end. But let's see how long it's going on for. To be honest, it's already going on for longer than I was expecting. But as I suspected, Morant, now with that pressure on to him, he picked up the pace a little bit, so he's responding well to the pressure right now. And there's oh goodness, not just a lap car either, a couple of lapped cars involved in this fight right now. By the looks of things, we've still got a good 12 cars on the lead lap, but a couple of them will be going 2 laps down at this stage as well. They'll be trying to get them out of the way, indicators on and everything. It looks like this is Sheridan going on the outside. Oh, and he really has got out of the way there. On the outside through Brooklands. So the two leaders are able to battle it out between themselves, but these lap cars may play a role.
Yeah, sometimes it can really play into your hands with the back marker. If you're the one that gets through cleanly and the other guy gets parked behind them, it's like, oh yeah, great, I just pulled out a few car lengths. It can really help you actually when you're in a pressure situation like Morant's dealing with. We saw, it was it Seville just giving him all the road there. He's picked up the pace a bit. I think they're both on 59s now, aren't they? 59.3 versus 59.1 for Trulls. So Morant's dug deep and he's handling the pressure as best he can. But it's going to be interesting to see now as they come up behind this Lexus. Another back marker. What's the what's going to play out here as they come down into Stowe. Come up rather into Stowe, so you don't go down, you actually come up a bit of a rise here as you brake, and then down into Vale. And Trill's right up in his mirrors now, and just putting him and just keeping that pressure on. Sometimes that's all you have to do really. You just sit there, and sure enough, if you stay there for long enough, at some point the driver in front is going to make a mistake, and you just got to be there to pounce and make that move cleanly when the opportunity arises. And with under 40 minutes left to go in the race, I'm sure Trolls will want to get by, but at the same time in no hurry. He doesn't want to risk anything too wild. He's keeping it pretty tidy back there, and I think just going to pick his moment, isn't he, to put that move through cleanly.
And it might be now. Good run onto the Wellington straight here. There may be an opportunity, although not this time. Into Brooklands is closer though. Solberg is definitely closer. Into Luffield as well. Lots of pressure being applied now as there's a lap car as well. Another one towards the front of these guys, but over the front straight again. What I have noticed over the last couple of laps is that Solberg very late on the brakes into Stowe. Almost too late on a couple of occasions, so maybe that will be used to the advantage of this Turn 1 Norway car to maybe make a way through, trying to get through this Bentley before Maggots and Beckett's not going to manage it, and this could stall Thomas Morant in a way that benefits the 100 car, although wide from Solberg. That might well ruin the opportunity into Stowe, because it's not a great run through this section of corners. The BMW able to get through on the lap car in the end. The Bentley finally getting out of the way there. I think that might well be the 101 car, not entirely sure, but into Stowe, backing off certainly, and once again Morant survives, but Solberg late on the brakes up towards Stowe for the third lap in a row now. And a great run, looking into the chicane. Maybe now is the move. Here, it's been waiting a long time, but Solberg has finally got the best opportunity all race, round the outside through the first part of the chicane, gives them the inside for the second, and the 100 BMW is going to hit the front a little bit later than you might have expected. Morant put up a good fight, but in the end that was inevitable.
Yeah, nice clean move there from Souls. He just Trolls rather, and the back marker, the Bentley, doing a good job to just keep out of the way, give them the room to have their battle without without costing either of them any time. And I don't know if we'll get to see a replay of that, but it was a nice move, just parking it, and clearly thought it through. Just thought, if I can just hold it around the outside here, I've got track position through into club, and I think we're going to see a replay here. As he keeps it through Stowe. He got a really good exit through Stowe, and made the most of it as he sent it up around the outside here. Just managed to keep his nose ahead of Morant, and then letting the car run out wide a bit. Probably a bit cautious not to get a tap on the rear as he let it out, but nice move from Trills there. And clearly already he's pulled out a bit of a gap as well.
It's half a second, but it doesn't look like it's over just yet. So still a bit of a race on. 36 minutes to go here, and Morant is still hanging on to the coattails of the Norwegian up in front. Let's see a replay though of this pass from the outside this time. And just holding a tighter line through Stowe, really getting a better run through there. And then Morant did all he could defending on the inside line into the chicane, but really not able to do enough through the first part. Inside line for the second part was going to be all Solberg needed to make that move, and in the end it was fairly easy. Let's have a look. They're probably going up towards Stowe now, just through there, and you can see the gap is starting to open up here. It doesn't look like Morant is really going to be able to respond here. It's always difficult when you're overtaken for the lead to really motivate yourself to come back at them, and often in this situation this leading gap only goes one way, but he's got to hope that that this BMW is going to come back to him later on. Maybe gone out too hard and ruined the tyres. Maybe let's see if that does happen. But Morant has just got to drive as fast as he can at this stage and just hope that the 100 makes a mistake.
Yeah, you've got a few back markers ahead of them, so if I was Morant right now, I'd be thinking, or I'd be hoping rather, that one of these guys is just going to not block trolls, but perhaps leave their car in a bit of an awkward position, which costs him an exit onto a straight, and be there ready to pounce when the opportunity arises. But really, he's keeping it honest, isn't he? I mean, he's right there in his mirrors. As you say, it's a bit demoralising when you've just given the lead away and you're there in second place. But you just got to keep fighting, keep that pressure on, stay motivated, stay hungry, and don't let that gap build up between you. And as they start catching the Lamborghini up ahead, I think is that Tramp. I'm just trying to see who it is. It's the green Lamborghini. I was just trying to see what number it was.
Looks like, oh god, maybe if it's the Lamborghini. Well, yeah, I suppose it's the only one in the race, isn't it? So it's got to be, oh god, by the looks of things, top 10th place at the moment. And yeah, the last car on the lead lap just for the moment. A long way behind Svensson, I'm afraid, so a long way off an AM podium, unfortunately. Morant trying to get through. Sandberg also trying to get through on Lem here for 6th place in the overall race and 4th in the pro category. Bit of defence here from the troubled Porsche today. It started on the wet tyres, raced out to an early lead, and all of a sudden has dropped down quite a long way now, actually getting a puncture on the first stint of this race. Sandberg crashing on the opening lap, making a recovery as well. It was at this portion of the racetrack as well. Oh dearie me, and the Porsche there trying to hold on but couldn't hold on within itself there. The grip just ran out in the end. Sandberg is surely going to be going through here. So they were basically side by side when the Porsche went off the road. It's not got a very good run onto the hangar straight anyway. So Francisco Leme is going to be dropping down to 7th place, I'm afraid. Sandberg doing a good job on his own here in 6th, but he is going to receive that penalty, of course, for not changing driver. It's going to hamper him later on in this one quite substantially.
Yeah, we saw, the Porsche did well, actually, considering he ran quite a way off track to stay out in front, but Oscar getting the better run out of Chapel and just, reeling him in down the hangar straight, and as you say, making a nice clean pass there. But he's going to have to deal with that 60 seconds at the end of the race. But let's see, up into 6th place now with just over half an hour to go, and we're seeing the Lamborghini moving nice and cleanly out of the way there for the 2 front runners to come through. So Morant's going to have to keep that pressure on. No opportunity knocking there. He's got to make the clean pass if he can keep that pressure going. But they're doing well. What's between them? They're both onto 59s. In fact, the last lap, 159.25 for Solberg, 159.975 for Morant. You couldn't get more than couldn't get closer than that, really, could you?
Oh, it's staying very close here between Solberg and Morant, and I'm kind of surprised given the way that these two cars closed up together. I thought that the gap would just extend out once the pass was made, but it really hasn't happened like that at all. We've seen a very close race now between these two. That time's very close, just under 2 minutes. Ever so slightly being caught by those behind, as we got a battle for 13th going on here between Jonathan Seville and one of the other car. Look at Sander Jacobs by the looks of things for 13th. Trying to get through here, outside line. Giving the inside for the next turn. Oh, although not quite able to do it there. The door was slammed shut for Seville and he was not able to make his way through there. You see Handy is not too far behind in the BMW either. And there he is, just, I think that is him actually, just on the back of them. The lowest running pro car, clearly out of position, very out of position by that car's standards. Seville still trying to make the move stick, but Jacobs not letting him. And, looking every which way at the moment, but this lap car really not helping them, because I don't think that car is for position at all, and it isn't. It's off the road now, and through they go finally. But that car involving itself in that fight a little bit more than you want to see, and that BMW behind isn't Henry Handy in the pro car. It's another car laps down, unfortunately. But I mean, lots of lap cars in and around this fight. involved, but doesn't look like Seville can get through just for the moment.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't do the best job of getting out of the way there, really, did he? But all things said and done, I don't think it's really made too much difference to that little battle there between Seville and Jacobs. And it's... yeah, I don't think it's cost him too much. I think, you know, Jacobs hanging in there. It looks like of the two cars there, he's certainly ramping the pressure up, and doesn't look like it's going to be... I don't know. My money would say he's going to get a pass done pretty soon. I think he's looking like he's eager to get past that Aston Martin, and as they come on the run down to Stowe corner.
A little replay, shall we? Of a mistake from Morant. Excuse me, it's a mistake from Solberg, and then another one from Morant here. So almost seeing the opportunity in front of him, presently in front of him, made a mistake as we cut back to this battle between Seville and Jacobs. And maybe now the pass will be done for the Pulse Simsport car, but not quite yet. Around the outside, through a club there, and finally through into Abbey. So making his way into 13th, but that looked like hard work, if it's fair to say.
Yeah, I think he had to work. He definitely had to work for that one, but it's that. I would say I wanted to go back to see that incident again if we could between Solberg and Morant. It's weird the way that can happen sometimes. You know, you're following somebody that closely, they make a mistake, which you think, yeah, that should be your opportunity to try and get through, and before you know it, you're that focused on what they're doing, you make a mistake yourself, and we're seeing exactly that scenario just play out between those two drivers. Morant missing his opportunity to you know, try and jump back and take the lead.
He is indeed.
I don't know if there's any chance of a replay just to see that moment again. Here we go. This is it. See what happened.
So through turn one, it's all fine, and then it's all going to unravel a little bit for both actually through Maggots and Beckett's by the looks of things. Looks at the last replay. Here we go again.
Oh, Troll's getting a bit of a slide, and yeah, Morant even bigger slide. Sometimes it just panics you, doesn't it? You think, oh, are they going all the way around? And before you know it, you've nearly lost the back yourself. And yeah, Trolls, although he made the mistake first, I think sort of probably coming out a bit better of those two cars really in terms of track position.
I have to say, sorry, I have to say,
no, go on.
Over the last few laps, I'm just going to say that you've seen Titia's comrade in the Lexus 991 car just closing lap by lap. 59, because the two in front are kind of battling and focused on each other a little bit too much, you could say. Gaining a little bit over the last few laps, but there's not that long to go now. We'll see if that will change as we're seeing another pass for the 93 Porsche getting passed again. I'm afraid it's not been a great day for them really. The 103 BMW trying to get through either way, not able to for 7th place. This is a good fight a little bit further down, but you just see how much time that Porsche has lost. It really hasn't been a good day.
Yeah, it's not been their race at all, has it really? But as you say, Conrad in 3rd place. He's just posted actually 59 from Morant and Solberg, but prior to that, I think he was, you know, making, potentially gaining around a second or so a lap. So we could see him benefiting from that battle going on between 1st and 2nd place. And who knows, we might have a good battle 3-way as we come into the closing stages. But yeah, the Porsche Lem fighting. He doesn't want to let that position go there, does he? And fighting the car, running a bit wide onto the grass as he battles against that BMW. But looks like the BM's got the move done there.
326 there was just off the road, just in front of them there. Trampay through Brooklands and Luffield. I think it's on the transition basically from Brooklands and Luffield, or into Luffield I should say, but not a good race for them either really. 21st and last of those still running. We do have one retirement, the 420 car of Adam Gardner. Unfortunately, seems to have been problems with their driver change, because they do have a second driver, or were supposed to, but apparently in the game they were assigned into different cars for some reason not known to them, certainly. So we look at a little bit of a replay, a little bit too hot into Brooklands, and we're actually going to make contact with the barriers, unfortunately, into Luffield. It's a difficult corner to get right, really, Brooklands. You don't know whether it's quite low speed or medium speed of a corner, and the car can understeer a fair amount through it certainly looked like he did there anyway.
Yeah, really missed his apex, didn't he? Didn't manage to get it onto the curbs, and just spit a bit too much power out the rear, sent him the wrong way into Luffield. Battle for P10 here. This is AJ against Ogard in the Lamborghini. Can the turn one driver make it stick? Coming into Maggots Beckett's. He's dropped back a little bit there. It's see if he can stay glued to him and try and get a run out of Chapel and onto the hangar straight. He'll be wanting to try and tuck in behind that Lamborghini. It's a fair old lump, that Bentley. Not the most aerodynamic of vehicles, and definitely he'll want to try and get into that Lamborghini's wake. And slingshot out of Stowe. Let's see if we can take a chunk out of him here as he makes a leap into Vale.
Yeah, hopefully not literally, but I know what you mean. Going into 9th place. 10th place. Morton Ogard currently driving this one. We're on board with him right now. We had this shot a little bit earlier of the Lamborghini. I wonder if we're going to see a few more flames. Really not stable through high speed. You can see even the Bentley is gaining much more stable here over the next over the last few corners, and a tighter line through here as well through the right hander, looking to set itself up on a great run out of the loop. And well, I say that he's not had a great exit, so Ogard looks like he's going to hold on here ahead of Jones, but this is too far back into Brooklands. Lamborghini is going to be able to hold off on this one very nicely. There's Aston Martin of Younger not too far behind either here, 2.8 seconds back to the 101 car, so there's a lot of cars around this kind of zone, and indeed a lapped car, or at least a car not on this lap. It might even be the AM leader, that one, the 24 car, quite possibly, because these cars are a lap down, let's not forget. But either way, we're seeing a free car battle potentially brewing here, all over 4th position by the looks of things. And here comes the 24 car trying to make or get through on them all as well. Very difficult as a leader to be able to do this, but let's see now. Well, his life's not be able to make much easier here, because Jones is still applying the pressure to Ogard, although not able to make his way through just for the moment.
Yeah, it's great, this view, isn't it? This helicopter view as they come through that section. You can really see all the drivers, taking slightly different lines there. Just AJ just trying to make as much use as he can of the road and just try to pull out a bit more position. But that number, what number is that? The BMW that's just gone through?
It's 24.
Number 24. Yeah. It's making the best use of someone else's battle there and taking the position.
Yeah, trying to just making its way through, and that looks like the Aston Martin I referenced a moment ago. Jones might have got himself into a bit of trouble here, might lose even his 5th place here in AM. These are all AM battles that could change over the next couple of moments, over the next 20 minutes, just over. Down the inside for the 24 on the Lamborghini, and all of a sudden we've got the three manufacturers glued together now over the final spot inside the top 10 in this race. 2 hours of Silverstone and still 20 minutes to go in this one here. First round of the Team Endurance Championship by XR Virtual Motorsport, trying to see if there's any change here in the top 10. Looks like the battle for the lead sort of settled at 1 second. It's not over, but this battle is certainly a lot closer, and it's another big defending job for Ogard here. We saw how Morant was struggling with the marathon task that he had, but he did respond well to the pressure. We'll see if this Lamborghini responds well at all and defends off these two larger cars in his wake or not, but he's certainly got his hands full right now, there's no question about that.
Yeah, Yeah, great view from the Bentley there at the rear end of that Lamborghini as AJ really sticks it to him, gets a good exit out of Copse. Really, really good exit, and he's right on the back of that Lamborghini. Doesn't get any closer than this, does it? 3 cars glued together, kicking up the dust, and couldn't be any closer. It's yeah.
Here we go with the Aston Martin. We'll see if Jongen can make a move, maybe outside line, even steal a bit of slipstream from the Lamborghini. It's going to be all the way around the outside at Stowe, which is a bit too far really. These damp conditions have gone away from us now, and it's fully dry, and it will be probably till the end of the race unless there's a late shower, which we're not expecting. But it's looking like Jongen not able to make his way around the outside there. Jones trying to stay in the middle of this group, which is a difficult place to be in really, making a move on the Lamborghini and try not to open yourself up to the Aston Martin behind it. Look at the speed they can take through these high speed turns. The Lamborghini not very good through these ones at all, and now maybe the chance for Jongen as Jones had to just check up through the first couple of corners. Here comes the 325 outside line for the Aston Martin. Is it a bit too far around here too? It is really very sharp corner, and so the Aston Martin not able to make his way around the outside here, but Jones finding himself under a lot of pressure right now.
Yeah, he had a good look through the loop, but he just got himself a little bit out of track position. But yeah, AJ finding just going up wide out of Brooklands and just finding himself he's the filling in between that Aston Martin Lamborghini sandwich there, and definitely between a rock and a hard place. He's fighting a battle on 2 fronts, isn't he? It's a great view from the back of the Bentley actually as he comes down here, and as they come into the entry to Copse again, and he's just running a little bit wide there. AJ just didn't quite make it onto the curb, but as it stands at the minute, I think he's just kind of yo-yoing between those 2 cars, isn't he? So 1 minute he's right at the back of the Lamborghini, you think, is he going to get through? And then the next minute it's the Aston Martin that's probably occupying his thoughts more and looming large in his mirrors as they come on the run up to Stowe again. And let's see what the Aston does again. I think he knows he can't really make it around the outside here. It probably makes more sense to try and tuck in and, if anything, send it up the inside into Vale, but AJ just making that Bentley as wide as he can, and none of these drivers really giving each other an inch, are they? They're holding position, and with just under 17 minutes left to go in this race, this is a good battle. Enjoying watching it.
It is a very good fight for top 10 overall, let's not forget, and 4th place, in the AM category. Bit deep this time from the Lamborghini, and maybe now the opportunity for AJ Jones to make it. Lovely cutback, lovely crisscross from him into the loop. He let the Lamborghini run out wide, and he swooped down the inside, shoved his Bentley into what some would say is an impossible gap, but it was just wide enough, and he was able to make it work. Looks like, not giving up. And he's done the same. That's on the grass, and definitely a corner cut from him there. He's going to have to get that one back for sure, because he was certainly off the road, and he does in the end ends up giving 2 back by the looks of things, with Jongen right round the outside. Aston Martin might just hold on as they go through. Looks like they're going to cross the start finish line absolutely side by side here. Outside line for the Aston Martin. Looks like he's going to be through though, late on the brakes. Swoops through that high-speed corner, which that 85 car's been struggling with all day, and so he loses 2 places in just 1 lap. But great racing between the 3 of them, and when indeed they did go over the line, they were gentlemanly enough to give the place back as well.
Yeah, great racing there. Like you say, you lose 1 place, before you know it, you've lost 2, and suddenly you find yourself at the back of that trio when only corners before you were leading, and AJ now will want to try and stretch out some kind of distance if he can, but it's going to be under pressure from Jongen in the Aston Martin for sure, and it's just this is what it's all about, isn't it? When they've been battling this whole time, come into these closing stages of the race when you've got a battle like this that's raging away, and the Lamborghini really dropping back now. It's kind of lost a bit of steam, but say with these two fighting it out, before you know it, he might be back up there. Oscar Sandberg as well, I'm saying, up to 5th place now as well.
Yeah, that is true. He got up ahead of Brian in the 9 EMW. That is a pro car on an AM car, which is a little bit. Which means it won't change their overall position, but it does mean that Sandberg is into the top 5 for the first time since lap 1, basically, and the first few corners of this race where it's all unravelled for him. Meanwhile, though, this battle for 10th is still ongoing. The Bentley and Aston Martin seem to be a lot quicker than the Lamborghini of Ogard at this stage, which is a shame for the Lamborghini. Started well, but is fading just towards the final 14 minutes of this race. But these two look fairly well matched, and I have to say the leaders are quite well matched as well. Solberg and Moran are staying not nose to tail quite, but only half a second between them at the moment, 5/10 of a second. The race for the win in this race isn't quite over yet by the looks of things either.
Yeah, it's I mean the Aston and the Bentley, nice, both quite stable cars. The Lamborghini just can be a little bit more of a high speed handful through the faster stuff, and when you get into these stages of the race and your tyres are they're past their best, and you're starting to struggle, maybe your lap time's dropping off a little bit. This is where the driver in the Lamborghini is maybe going to find a little bit of a harder time around Silverstone GP track with some of the high speed corners, trying to hang on to this battle for 10th and 11th place, but or rather 9th and 10th place. But as you so nudge there, AJ will have felt that, I'm sure. And like you say, that battle at first place now, down 3 seconds between those two cars, between Solberg and Morant.
Hard to know where to look at the moment, really, with these two battles going on. Here it is, the two BMWs fighting it out once more. The 100, as I said earlier, the guys, Morant will be hoping that Solberg just ruins the tyres here, and they can come back a little bit later, and that might have happened here. 12.5 minutes to go. There's going to be, well, they're doing under 2 minute lap times, so 7 to go here. Solberg's going to have a lot of defending to do, although there was a bit of time lost there by the 137, so the gap extends again, but there's still a lot of time for both of these two battles to change in the dying moments of this race.
Yeah, I think anything could happen, couldn't it, really? I mean, it only takes a slightly over-ambitious lunge and a tap at the rear, or as the drivers come into the last sort of 10 minutes or so, 12 minutes to go right now. You've been hanging in there that whole time, trying to keep it clean, and of course the last thing you want to do is make a mistake. But we might see the drivers just thinking, yeah, come on, this is my last opportunity, and perhaps going for a gap that isn't quite there. But it's certainly could go either way. I think either of those battles. I mean, Trolls out in front, first place, doing very well to hang on, and AJ likewise doing a great job with that Aston glued to the back of his car as they run up to Stowe, and the Aston going for the outside line. Has he done it? He's got a
nice.
Yeah, and he's done it.
Very nice move.
AJ going for the
Stop a spin. The Bentley's gone around.
AJ
Jones, after working so hard to get into 10th place, has seen it all undone in front of him there as Jeroen Jonge just did him around the outside, unfortunately, and then Ogard able to get through as well. Just looked like he kind of lost control of it. Wasn't quite able to see quite how, but you could see they were both absolutely on the limit, sliding every which way, and unfortunately Jones just lost control right at the very end. Looked like he caught it, but unfortunately he did go for a little half spin, unfortunately.
Yeah, both his cars running right wide out onto past the track limits, and as you say, the Bentley just too far past the lock stops, and unfortunately losing the back end altogether. But yeah, bad luck for AJ after having fought so hard and for so many laps in that battle.
Here we go again. On the outside, yeah, it's just on the limit for both of them. Definitely, there wasn't contact. I think he may have steered a little bit further to the right than he wanted to and lost control of the car just to avoid contact with the Aston Martin. Doesn't want to shove anybody else around, of course. But yeah, lost the back end. And now 1.8 seconds behind. Oh god, we might see that battle just crop up again with Jonathan Seville also very quickly bearing down on everybody at the moment. I'd be surprised if he can get top 10, but he's going to give it a go in 13th position at the moment, and there's a number of AM cars in front of him, as we can see. Maybe even be knocking on the door of a top 5 in the AM category in this one. It's only just under 2 seconds in front of him. Meanwhile, battle for the lead is very much on again. Solberg versus Morant. And I know that we've got Antomarchi watching as well. He's following this race very closely, as you can imagine, in the final moments of this race, cheering his teammate on, of course, but there's not a lot he can do at this stage. It's all down to the drivers and what they've got left at this moment in time. The light is fading at 6 p.m. at the moment, and we're not going to get into darkness by any stretch of the imagination, but the light is dimming. The track conditions will be getting slightly colder. It's certainly dry at this stage. It will be to the end of the race, and these guys have got 5 laps to decide who's winning this race between themselves. Let's see who comes out on top in this one. Woodcut and over the line. 8.5 minutes to go right now. And 5 laps, as I mentioned, likely to be on the clock. Comrade 10 seconds back. There was a moment when Titus Comrade was catching both of these quite regularly in quite good intervals, but that's not really happening anymore, as we see a good run here for Moran, and there could well be a change for the lead on in the dying moments of this race. Slipstream for the 137 to the outside line. Solberg going to have to do a bit of defending now into Stowe, but we know this 100 car is good on the brakes in here, but not good enough. The Pulse car goes round the outside. Does it go too wide? A little bit off the road. Now will Moran have to give that one back? Was he off the road when he made the move or not? They're still side by side. It might not matter too much anyway. Into the chicane they go, and there's a change for the lead once more. The Pulse car gets through with Morant, but did he go too wide off the road there at Stowe making that move, or was that legal or not? I think there'll be a bit of an argument about that one, to be quite honest.
Yeah, sorry Ewan, I lost connection for a moment, and of course Sod's Law, I just missed the most exciting moment in the closing stages of this race, but clearly Morant through there, and I missed the pass. What happened?
Well, yeah, it's basically a run around the outside from Morant, but whether he was off the road when he made the move or not is my real question there, because obviously it wouldn't be allowed if he was, so we'll see about that one, and if anybody intervenes. But there's still 4 laps to go here. Let's have a quick look at the replay, because it's a big moment in this race, of course. Bring down the hanger straight, gets a good run through Chapel and on to this straight. A lot of slipstream. He's going to pull to the outside line where we've seen, and up towards Stowe where we've seen Solberg so strong all day, but not strong enough on this occasion. Here is the question though, was this move legal or not? He's a very long way off there, it has to be said, and does make the move well off the circuit, so questionable certainly.
Yeah, I'd say steward's inquiry if I was in Trill's team, to be honest. It's, as you say, using all the track limits and then some to get that move done. And I think if you look in the blue book of racing etiquette, that one would say denied.
Probably at this point. Here's Jonathan Seville, by the way, who's made light work of Ogard, by the way. Didn't see that happen, but that Lamborghini is falling apart towards the end. Not literally, you understand, but metaphorically, losing a lot of pace, I'm afraid to say, in this one. Jeroen Jongen, after getting into the top 10, has completely run away with it, and so this has been left the back for P5 in the AM category. Jones versus Seville, recovering 17 car, having problems in the early part of the race, but recovering well now. Seville, I think, driving on his own. He had to start the race out of necessity, even though he's the pro driver in their pairing. but making 4 pit stops today, I believe. Might even be 5 by this point, but no, 4. It was 4. That is probably a lot, and that probably explains why he's so far down. But looking to make amends for that with P11 and 5th place in class, right round the outside through Stowe. Can he keep it on the road? Oh goodness! Just about kept it on the road, but wasn't given too much space by Jones, who slammed the door firmly in his face there.
Yeah, making all the use of the Bentley's ample bodywork there to stop him from coming through. Being as he's a one-car driver, that means he's going to get a 60-second penalty added onto his race time, if I'm correct. I'm sorry, Seville is part of the team.
I'm not sure what they're going to quite what they're going to do with him, because he kind of had to start the race since he was the only driver of their team connected at the time. But obviously AM drivers are supposed to start the car, but I think the fact that they changed driver kind of immediately as they could means that they will be fine, and that's why they're so far back. But yeah, I think he's going to escape any kind of penalty, because they did basically all they could there.
Yeah, sounds like they pitted at the end of the formation lap, and as you say, sometimes these kind of things happen, and you're left scrambling at the beginning of the race, trying to do whatever you can to get the right driver in the car before the race starts, and it's too late. And as we join the 2 front runners in the closing stage of this race now, less than 5 minutes remaining, less than 2 laps to go. And what, if anything, can Truls Solberg do to try and salvage the lead that he's hung on to so hard all of this race? But we're going to jump back to the battle between Seville and AJ, and we come up to the run onto the hanger straight down to Stowe. Excuse me, so I just have a sip of water.
All down the inside, looks like, for Seville into Stowe, and now the inside line this time. A lot more successful than the outside by the looks of things. Jones just struggling in the latter portion of this race for sure. That half spin not helping the state of his tyres, you'd imagine. But either way, through the 101 car demoted, the 17 is promoted up into 11th position. So there we are, that battle looks like it's settled for now, as we see even the 28 of Henry Handy there has made his way through on the 85 Lamborghini as well, but that looked like a very easy move indeed. Morant didn't have an easy time of things getting through on Solberg, there's no question about that, but let's see if this race can change one more time, because there's only 2 minutes to go, 2 laps to go, including this one. Not long whatsoever for these guys to sort it out between themselves. Solberg is going to feel aggrieved that Morant got through in such a way, you'd imagine, but we'll see if it might not matter anyway as they go down towards the hanger straight and up towards Stowe again. We've seen a great battle between these two. It's ebbed and flowed throughout the 50 minutes they've both been in the car. Solberg this time, looking at the inside line, but not able to make the move through Stowe, where this car has been very strong so far all race long, setting up a move into this chicane, but it doesn't look like that's happened this time. Only one more chance into Stowe in this race as Morant hits the curb. Solberg around the outside through the second part of the chicane. It's a long way around there though, as they go through Club onto the straight and into Abbey again. Defence from Morant here once more. Outside line for the 100 car. It's a long way around. And too far wide. Far too wide. Off the road again. Solberg's going to rejoin across the grass. That might well seal the race by the looks of that gap there. We never know, but it might well seal the race with the grass on the tyres and the gap opening up.
I thought for a minute he was going to keep that, he was carrying a lot of speed. We saw him come out wide. Morant was offline, taking it a bit tight into Abbey, and I thought for a moment maybe Charles was going to carry that speed through and make the move cleanly, but he just ran too far as he got onto that pickup on the inside of the track there, and forced him a long way off wide, and unfortunately that's seen Morant pull out what I think is going to be too much of a gap now for Trills to try and get past cleanly. But potentially a steward's inquiry into that move that happened around the outside at Stowe, but I think that looks like Trills' only chance at getting the lead of this race back at this point in time.
hit 8/10 of a second, and you saw how close the 100 car was to the back of that Pulse BMW earlier on, and how the move didn't even pay off after that distance. So at this kind of distance, thinking it might well not, it might not do as we go through Maggots and Beckett's for one final time. A couple of lap cars up in front here. The 22 car is just up here. James Sheridan, I think that is, in the Bentley.
Yeah, we could have a last minute. We could have a last minute, curveball on our hands as they come up on these last couple of back markers, and who knows what's going to pan out. But it's looking. We're seeing the leader here of the Pro-Ams in the top left as well. This is Olsen Forsberg. He doesn't look like he's under any pressure as he takes the AM win.
Yeah, he's running around at the moment, just a little bit behind these guys on the right hand side of your screen, just trying to take home the AM victory at this stage. A great opening stint from Julian Bell there has really put that car up towards the front, and looks like they're going to take a victory in 5th place overall, beating 3 of the Pro cars in this race. But on the right hand side, and in the main race, the Pro race, and of course overall as well, it's been a great fight between the 137 and the 100 BMWs. The final lap cars pulling out of the way here, and Morant looks like he's going to hold on through the final couple of corners. Solberg throwing absolutely everything at this, but with a pass around the outside through Stowe, it looks like Thomas Morant is going to take this victory alongside Adrian Antomarchi. They crossed the line with barely a few tenths to spare to win here after 2 hours at Silverstone, the first round of the Team Endurance Championship here by XR Virtual Motorsport. A great race between the two of them, ending less than half a second apart. It was a great fight between the two, but in the end there was only going to be one winner in those closing laps. Solberg gave it everything through the Vale chicane and through Club and Abbey on that penultimate lap, but in the end it just wasn't enough for that 100 team, and the 137 of Thomas Morant holds on just about by a very, very slender margin in the end. Very good race though between the two of them.
Yeah, great driving from both those races really, and I've got to say as well, good effort from Oscar Sandberg driving the car back up to 4th place after that double whammy collision on the opening lap here in the wet. You won't be happy with everything, but all said and done, he's got to give himself a pat on the back for salvaging that position. And some great battles today in this race.
Sorry, the AM lead has changed on the final lap. So Olsen Forsberg has clearly got barely any fuel left in that car, or something has gone terribly wrong, because he's lost the lead on the last lap, and Bryant has stolen this one for the 9 team. We're hopefully going to get a quick look at it, but I don't think so, because we're at the end of the race. But goodness me, there's a change for the lead and change for the win on the final lap as Martin Bryant takes the win in the number 9 BMW. No idea how that ended up happening, but all of a sudden he's managed to win the race.
Yeah, absolutely shocking. Yeah, last minute, 2 minute 10 suddenly from Olsen Forsberg, and like you say, maybe just running it too close on the fuel count.
That's the only thing I can think of, really, because even a quick spin is not 8 seconds. Might be about 5. So yeah, that's very, very weird. I did see him going slowly over the line for the penultimate time. I didn't really want to mention it. I wish I had done now, but no, it looks like he's really lost a lot of speed on that last lap. We might be able to see a few highlights here. This is the highlights of the race so far. What a race we have had here, by the way. We're hopefully going to get to chat to 1 or 2 of these guys, hopefully the winners of each class, before we sign off. But it was quite a chaotic start, wasn't it? Really, casting our minds back 2 hours ago, there was cars all over the place, and this was quite a damaging part of the race for Sandberg as well. You just wonder where he could have ended up without this problem earlier in the race.
Yeah, I mean, that first slide that he got, actually, Tokyo Drift style, he did really, really well to hang on to it. And initially, it didn't really look like it had hit him too hard. But yeah, that Lexus rejoining and that second collision, I think, must have given him a significant amount of damage, and probably why we saw him jumping into the pits within a lap or so. And I think we're just going to see that Lexus again, which I think came home third place overall. Was it, Conrad?
It certainly did. It
Yeah.
was it was a good run in the end from Conrad. Clearly, they didn't pick up anywhere near as much damage as Sandberg did throughout that one. Because they had to come into the pit lane. Just one word in before we interview the pro winners who are waiting for us at the moment. Getting word through from Julian Bell, of course. We see a teammate of Fred Olsen Forsberg. The Forsberg was stuck in fifth gear because his downshift broke on his wheel during the last couple of laps of that race. He was stuck in fifth gear, hence he lost 8 seconds. There's some very slow sections of this circuit, a couple of slow chicanes and whatnot, so lost a lot of time through those, you might be able to imagine, and lost the AM win on the last lap of this race. Remarkable stuff, and hopefully we can talk to the winners in a few moments' time. But for now, let's bring in, if I can, bring in Antomarski and Morant here into the booth. Good to have you both here. I'll talk to Adrian, first of all, having started the car, and I want to go back to the start of the race here in this one, because it was a very chaotic start. There was changing weather conditions and all sorts. So what was going through your mind as you were sitting on the grid with the rain coming down, but you knew it wasn't going to last that long? What were you thinking?
A lot of things, to be honest. We just took the decision to go with slick tires because of the forecast, and I think that was a good call, especially for the first half of my stint. It was a bit hard to drive, but at the end we managed to keep the pace up, so pretty happy with how it ended up.
It must have been a very difficult opening stint as well, and also about halfway through, just over halfway in your stint, you came into the pit lane to change tyres. In the end, it turned out to be an inspired decision. So whose call was that? Were you just feeling, this is not going to... Were you feeling very... Were you struggling a lot on the dry tyres, decided to come in? What was the thought process behind pitting halfway through your stint?
I knew by testing that when it started to rain, 2-3 laps after that, we would have lost a lot of pace, so we decided to pit for the wet tires, and I think that was a good call because we caught up really fast the guys in front. That made us to do some overtakes. But I think the other guys with dry tires on those conditions did really struggle. So, yeah, we played well, I think, on that one.
Yeah, you guys definitely making some good decisions on the tyre choice.
Yeah, absolutely. Just want to ask Thomas as well before we let you both go, and enjoy your win, I suppose. Thomas, how were those final few laps? There must have been a lot of pressure on you, first getting overtaken and then that pass on the very final, well, not the very final lap, but in the closing moments of that race. How was your stint, and particularly towards the end, what were the nerves like? What were you feeling?
Well, first I would like to thank Adrian for helping me out with this one. I contacted him to do this race together, and actually it's, I think, our first win in a league, or definitely it's my first win, so I'm quite happy. And in the beginning I didn't want to screw up, so I think I drove too cautious in the beginning, and then Solberg catched me, but then after staying behind him I thought, like, hey, he's not getting away. So yeah, little by little I think our pace was equally matched, and I think he took more life out of his tires, so I just kept calm, and actually it was full focus, no nerves or anything. So yeah, I just waited to attack and save the tires. This, together with a lot of mixed weather, good gambles, yeah, feels good.
Absolutely, a great win for both of you. So congratulations. We'll let you both go now, as I said, and enjoy your win. But congratulations, and thanks for coming to talk to us. Thanks for coming to join us as well.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I just want to add that we want to thank also the community, Exiled, for the championship, and also all of you that working for the broadcasting thing, which is pretty top quality. So thank you for everything.
Thank you very much. Our pleasure. Thanks very much for joining us, Adrian Andomarski and Thomas Moran as well, joining us from the 137 team. Now, we are briefly, before we wrap up, we're going to talk to the AM winners as well. Probably quite shocked with themselves, but let's find out as they... Oh, dear. As they come to join us now. My laptop's having a bit of a problem here. So just wait a minute. There we are. I'm back now. First of all, welcome to you both, Martin Bryant, Michael Hutchinson, joining us here. I want to talk to hiya. I want to talk to Martin first. He's probably in a bit of shock at the moment. I'm certainly quite shocked. But I'm winners at the end of that one, Martin. Were you surprised to see your rivals slowing down quite so much towards the end? What were you going through in those final few laps?
I'm not sure what happened. I thought he was just trying to avoid the interview.
I hope not, but you might be right. What was it like driving out there in Silverstone today? Obviously, it was dry conditions for you, a little bit easier, maybe than Michael. But how was the car? How are you feeling out there?
Yeah, the car was great. Once the track got to optimum, it was just send it really, and then got pushed by car number 103, I think it was, pretty much right till the end until he had a little bit of an incident. But really enjoyed it, to be honest. Michael looked like he had the worst conditions.
Yeah, he certainly did. We'll ask you about that now, Michael. It was a chaotic start to the race for us. It was difficult to keep track of what was going on. What was it like driving in that situation? And because it wasn't very easy for us to tell, what tyres were you on to start with? Did you change halfway through your stint? What was going on?
Yeah, that was a bit of chaos at the start. I actually wanted to start on wet, and then we seen that it was 5 minutes until the track dried out. So Martin pretty much forced us to start on slicks, and I was like, well, if I bin it, this is the risk. But no, it was all right. It was good. We managed to stay out of trouble in the first few laps, and I basically just said to Martin, I'm just gonna chuck the traction control right up and just nurse it round, stay out of trouble, and basically managed to do that twice through kind of 2 showers. And I think that strategy worked out really well, because obviously we just had the one pit stop and then handed over to Martin, and Martin had a nice dry run home. But yeah, I don't really know what happened at the end with Olsen Forsberg. I don't know, he just seemed to slow down. Me and Martin were saying that he was pretty quick for the amateur class, so maybe he just realised he's in the wrong class, who knows. But he was miles ahead of us.
I'm hearing that something on his wheel broke, and he broke, and he couldn't downshift anymore. So he was kind of stuck in 5th gear, apparently.
That's just a legit first.
Yeah, I was actually skipping through the people, and I did see that he was stuck in 5th gear. So yeah, Martin, a legit win, apart from very fortunate circumstances.
A little bit fortunate, but deserved as well, I must say. So we'll let you both go and enjoy it now. Thanks very much for coming to join us, and congratulations here tonight.
Cheers.
Cheers.
See you guys. Bye. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Martin Hutchinson, Martin Bryant and Michael Hutchinson joining us there. Very pleased with their win, especially now that they know it's legit, as they called it, as well. There's a quick look at what's coming up next here on the Turn1 YouTube channel, by the way, here at XR Virtual Motorsports. We've got the Sprint Championships coming up, next round's at Donington Park on the 1st of February, so make sure you join us for that, and many more broadcasts coming up in that series, and indeed in this one, another 2-hour race at Imola coming up on the 15th of February for us all to enjoy, and Suzuka at round 3 as well. Final thoughts from you, really, here, Charlie, because it's been a fantastic couple of hours of racing. Some very happy winners in that one, and some very good battles. Less than half a second at the end, at the front of the field. What more could you ask for?
Yeah, well, exactly. No, I've really enjoyed it tonight. It's been some fantastic racing in both categories, and as we saw, everything coming right down to the wire in those closing laps. So it just goes to show, doesn't it? You've always got to keep hanging on, even when you feel like it's a foregone conclusion, and you're going to finish in second place. You never know what's going to happen on that final lap. So you never know. You could be going home with the top spot on the podium. And and it's been great to join you tonight, Ewan. And fantastic result for all those 2 teams. Well done, well driven from all the drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been great having you along as well. Thanks to everybody who's been joining us here this evening, and everybody who's been chatting to us throughout the evening. It's been great to hear from you throughout the race as well. We hope you join us on the 15th of February for the next round at Imola, and indeed for those more sprint-focused races coming up in the early part of February as well. But for now, from Steve Proudly behind the cameras, me, Ewan O'Leary, and Charlie Martin alongside me, it's goodbye for now.